Coming to get you, Barbara.
When there's no more room in hell.
We are live. What's going on, everybody? Happy Saturday night to you all. It's been a while, but we're doing, I think the last one I did was with Jace, who's actually in the chat tonight. And that was, 6 months ago or something like that? But I feel like it was it was time to bring it back. It's time to do another Collecting the Dead, and who better to do an episode of Collecting the Dead with one of the biggest collectors of Romero stuff out there, the man himself, Mr. Matt Blazi. Matt, what's going on, brother? Thank you for joining me.
Oh man, thank you so much. I'm really honored to be here. This is just always something fun to watch and I'll be a part of. So hopefully, we'll have an entertaining show. I don't know. There's folks out there with much better collections than me. I just like to grab the stuff that, means something to me personally. And it's been a lifelong thing.
Yeah, man. Like you talk about lifelong, and I'm glad you're here. And I'm going to start this out tonight. You can just sit back, loosen your pants. I'm going to glaze you for a little bit here. Just want to say publicly that this channel, for folks watching, if you enjoy what I do here on the channel, this channel, everything that I do would not be happening if it wasn't for the guy sitting here with me tonight, Mr. Matt Blazi. It's true. It's true. And this goes all the way back to as a child, like literally 13, 14 years old. And I had Norman England on the show last week. Go ahead, just sit back. You got to take it. You can't go anywhere tonight, damn it. I had Norman on last week, and I was talking to him, and I was telling Norman, I was like, dude, here I was, this kid in Kentucky who loved this movie, Dawn of the Dead, but like nobody knew about it. Nobody wanted to talk about it, but I found this like community of websites and stuff online back in the day, and I find the WGON Zombie Watch website that this dude used to host back in the day. And I'm like finding all this information. I find out that there's an actual Monroeville Mall. I find out all this memorabilia and trivia about the movie. I just my love for Dawn of the Dead began really in that moment of finding all of this stuff out there that I didn't know existed. So on this website, you actually at the time had your AOL Instant Messenger handle or whatever it was called back in the day listed, and I'm like, God, I want to talk to somebody about this, because like I said, nobody knew Dawn of the Dead like that. So I reached out. I had AOL back in the day like everybody else. I reached out, and like without questioning or being like, oh, who's this fucking kid? Like, oh, leave me alone. Like, what are you bothering me for? I have a website to run here. God damn it. You just started, like, we just became like pen pals online. You were just like, oh, dude, you live Dawn of the Dead. Well, here, check this out. And you start sending me pictures. And then you tell me like, oh man, I'm going to Toronto. I'm going to be in Land of the Dead. I'm like, oh, bullshit. Like, this dude's totally fucking with me now because he knows. I mean, yeah, I'm some gullible kid, And then you start sending me pictures from on set, which I have one here. I have the exact picture that you sent. That like proved it to me that I told you, man. I told you I have to get this out. You sent me this photo, and you were like, "Oh man, here I am in the Zombie Man." I was like, "Holy shit, this dude's actually there on the set of Land of the Dead." And I think you sent me a picture of like George from like a distance on the set or something like that. I was like, "Wow, this is pretty amazing." Yeah, I don't know. So then that kind of began it all. Land of the Dead, man? How did you get onto the set of Land of the Dead? How did that happen? Because I was blown away at the time. I was like, because that was like something like you never, you like, oh, how, you got to know somebody to really get into that. But I don't know. But how did that happen, man? Oh,
nope.
Sorry.
Here we are. Tell us all about the story. Nice seeing you. Tune in next week. Thanks for coming. Bye. No, I met Greg in 2003, Greg Nicotero, and it was at Horror Find in Maryland, and just started to get to. No, let me back up. Met him at Pittsburgh Comic Con in 2003, spring of 2003, and just started talking to him. Obviously I was fangirling a little bit because it's Greg Nicotero, but we started chatting and everything. And I had seen him a couple of months later at a Horror Find in Baltimore, and we continued to talk and everything. And I had seen him the next year. And this was back when me and Mike Felsher used to do this thing at the after party where all the celebrities would come in. And Felsher and I at this hotel, we would go to this after party, and it was in a suite, and there was like a staircase. You would go up on this like little balcony, but it was a big space. So Felsher and I started this tradition where we would like sit in these like chairs, and we would just watch the room, and we would talk and make jokes and whatever. So Greg, that was the year that George was there. So it was 04. So it was like George, Greg, Tom, and Ken were all there, and they were coming over talking to us. And Greg and Tom, if you've never spent time with Greg and Tom outside of a show, those two guys are the epitome of best friends. They are also teenage boys when they're together, which is absolutely hilarious. They were doing the famous Danny Thomas coffee spit take with their beer. So they were doing that like all night. And we were just, we were riffing, shooting the shit and whatnot. And, Greg was talking about land. And I was like, man, it would just be great to go up there. And he goes, well, okay, here's what we're doing. Here's, give me your email address, and here's the password that you're going to need to do whatever.
Wow. Top secret.
Yeah,
here's the
because
password.
It was George's
Fidelio?
return.
Was that the password?
No, it was not Fidelio, but that would have been great if it was, especially because how much I love Iso I Chat.
Oh, me too.
And he's like, look, this is going to be weird because it's in Canada and they've got different extras laws, and they have to have an overwhelming percentage of Canadian extras before they can allow other people to come in, officially or unofficially. And we kept in touch, and me and another gentleman kept in touch with Greg, and Greg emailed us and said, hey, if you guys want to come up for a night, let's come on up. So we were like, now there was no promise that we were going to be inland, but we were invited on set. So we drive up to Toronto. It was my first trip into Canada. This was like before you needed a passport. So I'm like rocking with my social security card, my birth certificate, my driver's license. I was,
like you're going to the DMV.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. And we get to set, and Greg comes out and he goes, all right, I want these two guys in makeup. Okay, you go here and you go here. And he grabs me and pulls me in the trailer. And I was like, oh shit. I'm like, okay. So first off, I'm just like, it could be a George Romero movie, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna be like ultra deep background, like like so far in the back you're not even gonna see me. So he sits me down, and I look over, and I see a guy leaned back, and he's like asleep, and that would turn out to be Eugene. He was getting his makeup done, and then the tambourine zombie was there with me. So Tracy Loader, who was just nominated for an Academy Award for Nosferatu last year, started doing my makeup.
Oh, nice.
And she's and she's talking, and I'm telling her my story and everything, and I got my appliances on and everything, and Greg comes over, and he put some contacts in. He's like, hey, we're just gonna take a picture. No cameras on set, because I had like a legit digital camera. Like, I mean, the thing was like a box. And he's like, all right, we're going to take some pictures. And he takes the pictures of me. He's like, all right, let's go. And he runs us over to set. We get driven, and we get there, and we're like, okay, we're going to be in the back. There's like 30 of us or whatever. And he goes, all right, you guys come here. And we're literally behind the main zombies. And we're just kind of standing there looking at each other like, holy, like, what the hell's going on? Like, we didn't really know what to expect. And they yell, okay, you guys are going to walk up to the window and everything. We're like, okay. And they yell action, and we start shuffling. Like, everyone does the Romero zombie. How many times have you gone to the mall and done? Here, I'm doing it in real life. Like, this is so weird. And we took like 3 or 4 steps, and they all cut. We go back and stop, and we do that back and forth a couple of times. And then we finally get up to the window, and as we get up to the window, they're like, okay, we're going to have, you're going to be binging on the window and everything. So at first they hand me a piece of like rebar, fake rebar. And then they swap that out and they give me like a pickaxe and they're like, start beating against it. Well, I'm like right behind this girl. Now I don't know her at the time, number 9, Jennifer Baxter. I'm like, I don't want to hit her in the head. So I'm trying to like reach over and, bang and look dead. We do that. And then they say, okay, well, we're going to blow the window. So they come by and they give us earplugs and they paint them up so they don't stand out. And they're wetting us down. They're like, well, you guys just came out of the water. And, so they're kind of taking like one of those like garden sprayers and they're spraying us down and everything. And they're like, all right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. And it blows. So they come and they score the window and they start doing that. And a couple of takes later, they're like, all right, well, you're going to come through the window and then you guys just disperse. So then I'm like, shit, am I going to be the guy that trips over this broken glass and like stumbles, into the scene? I'm like thinking, I don't want to screw this.
Which would have been fine for your performance, I think. If you would have been,
I would have been
more memorable. Yeah, George would have kept it. He's like, oh, it's perfect,
I would have rolled with it. And we went and we did that, and we did that once or twice, and George got it. Then we broke for lunch and everything kind of reset and whatnot. We kind of spent the night and then went back and got my makeup off and we kind of came home and from Pittsburgh to Toronto, it was only like 3.5, 4 hours or whatever. But it was just like, we didn't shut up to each other the whole drive. It was like, did we just do this? Like, it was just one of those things where like, did this really, like, dude, like what the hell just happened? And it was October of 2004, and it wasn't until I want to say March or April of 2005 where the first trailer came out.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first trailer where they were doing like the night, the dawn, the day, and they were having the clips of the movie. That first trailer that kind of got recalled.
Oh, I remember it. I watched that trailer on fucking repeat when it came. I was just like, oh my God, it's happening.
And when I watched that trailer and I saw my hand, I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm good. Like I can see my hand in a Romero film. I was
You freeze framed it, you printed it off, you put it on your wall, and you're like, this is my moment.
Oh, I did. I at that time I was still a kid. I was 24 at the time. But it felt like a fever dream. And,
I'm sure.
And Greg and I, had kept in touch, and he had sent me. That's right. He did. He took one picture on his camera and one on mine, and he sent me the one on his. And he's like, you do not show this to anybody, because they were being real secretive about it. I was like, dude, I promise. And, just kind of waiting and then getting a chance to go to the premiere and sit in the theater with George to watch it. I was one row behind him with my friends Rob and Glenna, who ended up being zombies a couple of nights later, and watching the movie with him in it, and being able to see us, like, that was at the point where I was like, okay, my bucket list is done. Like, not that I had an extensive bucket list.
24 years old, you were like, I can go now. I'm good. Yeah,
I peaked at 24. I was good. And, just watching that in the theater, seeing George and, seeing George direct. There was a point, in the movie, you see these 2 security guards running across the screen and they yell, holy shit. Well, I guess they couldn't get it right. And I saw George kind of like hop out of his chair and he starts like pointing and directing, like he's getting like really into it. So it was the most intense I had ever seen George, but it was just really neat to see him direct. And when we came around and we were in front of the glass at Fiddler's Green, just seeing George and just the bank of cameras, there was 3 cameras coming in and then right at us. And then we could see Greg like sitting there, like videotaping and everything. Like Greg is a fan on set.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
As
I say that all the time. Like Greg's like the biggest Romero fan out of all of us. Like,
oh, dude,
Greg was in the chat one night. Like, I don't know, months ago, Greg was just in the chat watching one night and just talking to us and like answering questions and shit. And I was just like, there's no way this is actually Greg Nicotero. Like, how would he find this, little channel or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
And I guess he texted Larry and was like, no, it's me. And Larry was like, oh, it's Greg. And I was like, holy shit. All right.
Yeah. No,
but yeah, Greg is just like he's the king of the fans, I think, like when it comes to Romero.
It's so funny. Like, I remember one of the first conventions Greg had done. I remember him at Horrorfind, and every time he left his table, he would come back with a piece of memorabilia. Like, all the money he made, he just turned around and spent it on stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just it was just so funny to see him be a fan, because and that's what I love about Greg. Is Greg is like, all right, yeah, I'm doing this, I got to charge, but all right, here you go, and whatnot, and he just turns around and like spends the money on stuff that he wants, and it's just so amazing to see, and just seeing him work, with K&B and working the effects and seeing George direct. It's so hard to describe, and really to just be there.
Yeah.
Was it's now, it'll be 22 years this year, but I can still remember that day. Like, I can smell the makeup. I can remember being in the cold Toronto air. It was the week before Halloween. It was cold. It was rainy and foggy. It was my first time in a foreign country, and looking up, and base camp was right next to the CN Tower. So I'd look up and I only saw like 50 feet of the CN Tower before it disappeared into the fog. It was just, it was everything I had wanted and more at that point. And like I said, I was like, okay, I've done everything I've wanted to do. Now everything's a bonus. And I didn't care if I had seen myself on screen. I was just like, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, how is this possible? And it's just, I'm forever indebted to Greg. I mean, if that man called me and said, hey, I need you to come help me change my tire, and broke down on the side of the road, and he's like 10 hours away, I'm like, yeah, I'm hopping a flight and going. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, I'm always going to be indebted to him, and I could never thank him enough for that. And
yeah,
it's just so it's so weird to think about all these years later. And I
totally get that, because I mean, well, while you were on set, did you have any interaction with George while on set, or was he just kind of like,
yeah,
he was too busy worrying about Dennis Hopper and the stars he was working with?
Well, Dennis wasn't there. We did see John Leguizamo that night, and that was the first time I realized how short John Leguizamo was. No, there was a point, probably right after lunch. We were kind of waiting for everything to be reset, and George was kind of walking by, and there was a couple of us extras kind of hanging out talking. He comes by and he goes, and we were like, George, thank you so much for this. And he goes, no, thank you for wanting to do this. Like, I really appreciate it. And it just blew me away that, George is taking the time to say thank you to us.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't know us from Adam. I had met George a few times before then, so I didn't really know him at that point. I started to get to know him a little bit after, and just hearing him say thank you for that. He was just so gracious that people wanted to be in his movie. And I was like, oh, George, George, I'd run through a brick wall for you. So many people would. He's the same. He was the same way on set and behind closed doors as he was in front of a crowd. And I think that's what a lot of people never got to see, was that when he was working, he was focused, but he didn't stop being himself.
Yeah.
And he would always take a minute to talk to people. So all the stories we've heard over the years about how collaborative he was and everything, he fostered that environment that made people want to make his movie, but also make it better.
I think you could really tell that, like, anytime you'd hear, like, I remember when before Land of the Dead had come out, like, they had, I think it was like Dream of the Dead. They premiered that on IFC that Roy Frumkus did. I remember watching that, and you see like Simon Baker on there, just like a little kid, just like, oh man, this is the most fun I've ever had doing anything. And then John Leguizamo is just like, oh, George is like the greatest guy in the world. And it's like, you never heard anybody, you never had that, Shelley Duvall, Stanley Kubrick type of stories about George. Yeah. Like, he was just not that kind of director, not that kind of guy.
He was a normal guy who got a chance to make movies. He never forgot that he was George first. He wasn't this, as Felsher and I say, he wasn't this sacred cow that, a lot of, directors kind of get this aura about them. George was just George. And, every time I saw him, hey, George, how's it going? I talked to him about everything else except his films. I asked him one question one time about movies, and that was it. And then I never had another conversation about his films ever again. And we would just talk, about life, what's going on, and, what he was watching or doing or whatnot. But he was a person first and foremost, and he never forgot that. And he never, I always say this. It's like I always feel like he never understood why we continually watched his movies as much as we did.
Oh, yeah.
And my son's middle name is Romero. And
oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I told him that. I saw him at a show about a year or so after my son was born. He goes, why'd you do that to the kid? I was like, George, I love you. Like, it's, I wanted to, pass that along.
I tried to do that for one of our kids, but my fiance wouldn't go for it. She was just she's like, I'm not gonna have a girl named Romero. I'm like, all right. Well.
I mean, I got a Reeve Romero.
She did let me. She did let me go with Dawn for a middle name, so I got Everly Dawn in there. So I crowbarred it in there somehow. But yeah, she said about it.
And Dawn would have been great, had I been able to do that for my daughter. But I got a Romero, and I told George, I was like, you mean a lot to a lot of people. You've created this community of fans and fandom that rally around you because of you, not just because of the movies you made, but just because of the person that you are. And we want to do things to honor you, and we hope that he was always appreciative. He was always humble, but I don't think he never set out to make a movie that's going to be the next big thing. He wasn't trying to change the world. He wasn't trying to create these blockbusters. He wanted to make movies that meant something to him, that he enjoyed making, that he, would hope had a message. Obviously, George was, very, very into having subtext and everything in his films. And, that just resonated with us. It wasn't just some slasher film, or it wasn't just some empty zombie film. There was always something more to it. And I feel he definitely got it, but I think at some point he also didn't get it, because he was like, you guys are watching these movies all the time. Like, what's going on? And he got it, but I don't think it was just a surprise to him. I think at some point, especially, when it became generational, passing it down to your kids.
Well, it's like he just never, I don't know if he just didn't get it, or if it was just like he didn't want to, like, I don't feel like he ever wanted to put himself on the same level as some of his peers. Like, he would always, like, bring up guys like De Palma or Carpenter or those, and he'd be like, oh yeah, those are the guys that make good movies, and I'm just, I just want to go down here and do my little thing, and it's just I
don't think he ever did. I don't think he ever tried to compare himself. I never heard that from him. And George loved film. Like, George loved movies. He watched a lot of movies. But I don't think he was one that was trying to watch it and pick it apart and everything. I think George just loved the art of making movies, and I think he wanted to be entertained. And he was, you never really heard George kind of disparage anything, especially to a specific director or anything. He would say, like, I didn't like this, but he wasn't like beating it down. He would just say,
always very diplomatic. Yeah, even stuff that you could obviously see he wasn't a fan of, like The Walking Dead. Like, I remember those years when The Walking Dead was like the biggest thing, and he would always say, like, I'm happy for Greg, and I'm glad they're doing their thing, but it just ain't for me. But you
said it was a soap opera.
Yeah.
And that's art. Some people look at any horror film, no matter how good or praised it is, someone that looks at it and goes, it sucks. Okay, it doesn't.
He didn't do the Tarantino. He never did the Tarantino thing where he just completely shouts.
George wasn't calling out Paul Dano for anything and whatnot. And I think
Matt Landrum. Speaking of Paul Dano, I can't get this out of my head. Landrum on one of the streams here recently made the point that if they ever did a remake of Martin, Paul Dano would be a perfect casting choice for Martin. I think I was like, dude, that makes total
Ooh.
sense. I was like, yeah, like anybody could do that. I think somebody like Paul Dano could.
Shit.
Yeah.
Oh shit, that's awesome. That's a great bit of fantasy casting.
Oh, dude, that's what we do here. We just sit and come up with shit here. You know.
Oh
Just-
shit,
just-
I'm down for that.
And Ari asked her to
there's
direct.
anything
You
wrong
know?
with Paul Dano, and I don't know how this thing got so blown out. Like, okay, great.
I don't either.
Tarantino doesn't like Dano. There's nothing wrong with it. It must be because I've never met Dano, but I figure like Paul Dano must be just one of those guys that maybe he's just like universally loved on set. Like he comes with a lot of good, charisma, and he's just a good
I've never heard
person.
anything negative about him. He's not like
I
prima
think
donna
it's
or
just
anything.
surprising because it's Paul Dano. It's not exactly like it's a home like a no name.
Yeah, it's not
like
like it's not like you're pointing to like an obvious like movie star type that's just like, oh, what an ass, It's like Barbara
Yeah, it's not
Streisand,
like- or Timothy Chalamet, someone that's current.
Yeah.
He's like he picks Paul Dano of all people, and it's like, what the fuck did Paul Dano do to Tarantino? Like, and I think that just got people talking. It was like, where did this come from? Like, what did Dano do to you? And it was. I did finally see an article earlier this week, and it was like, why are we still talking about this?
Yeah, I saw Felsher post something about that on Facebook earlier this week. Just like, why is this still a thing? Why do we still care? And I'm just like, I think part of it too is like an actor like Paul Dano always kind of plays the role of like the quiet, like I don't know. When I think of Paul Dano, I think of him in like Prisoners or something like that, where he's always like just the victim. I wonder if that has something to do with where people are like, oh, he's so sympathetic in everything that he does. Like Little Miss Sunshine, he's kind of like the quiet, sympathetic kid. Maybe something like that. Maybe is why people are like, "Oh, why pick on the kid?" I don't know.
I guess I don't know, man. I'd like to find out why. Like it was like, did you just have a list of names and you're like, you know what? Today it's Paul Dano. Like I don't know.
Well, also Tarantino's always been pretty spoken out, and he's got a podcast where he has to sit and talk about stuff and be honest and tell his opinion. So it's like eventually somebody was going to catch some shrapnel, but what can you do?
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, when we hung out with Tarantino after the Land of the Dead premiere, it was me, Greg, Gino Cregnoli, Lee Carr, Simon Pegg, and Edgar Wright, and Tarantino. Nice. And we were taking Tarantino and those guys around doing locations. So we spent a bunch of time up at Evans City.
Oh, wow.
Tarantino he's on. Like, he's in the 11 the entire time. Like,
could have guessed that.
He's another one that he's kind of the same in front of the camera, I think, as behind. Like, his brain is always going, and he tries to keep up with his thoughts, and he just puts them out there. Mm-hmm. He was super cool. I mean, he couldn't have been a nicer guy to me, because who the hell was I? But it's just like, I was kind of exhausted after it. I was like, okay, man, this guy.
Well, I feel that way too. Like when you see him on the set of his movies, like some behind the scenes stuff from like Pulp Fiction during the dance sequence, he's back there dancing behind the camera, or the thing where it's like if he has to do another take, it's like, all right, well, we got to do it again. And why? Because we love making. He makes everybody say we love making movies, and it's like you can feel that energy like in his movies. But anytime you see an interview, listen to his podcast or anything like that, it's like, yeah, this dude's just going nonstop. So
yeah, he's never off. I don't think he ever takes an off day. And no. It's just one of those things where, getting to, and I say, you experienced Tarantino in person. Like it was an experience and a good one, but I can totally see the energy that he brings. And I can see that you definitely have to get him to be able to work with him. Like he kind of, I don't want to say speaks his own language, but you kind of have to be able to visualize what he's trying to say.
Yeah. You got to kind of be hip to what he's going for. You got to be on the same wavelength. And, there's some actors I always worked with in the past where he's not, where he hasn't been on the same page before. He's kind of talked about that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times that might be a lot of actors and directors, but, Tarantino is someone that he's got his own type of energy about him. And it's going to carry through, and you got to get on board with it, or you're going to have, I guess, issues. I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah, he's got his own vibe, and it's interesting. I don't want to say it's bad, but it's definitely different than I think a lot of other directors bring to their sets.
All right, I got to run real quick. There's some chaos going on downstairs with the 1-month-old. Do you want to show off some of your stuff here real quick, and I'll be back here in just a split second.
I guess I can carry the show for you.
You're a pro. You're used to this. You do this.
This ain't my show. This ain't my house. Okay, I guess I'll start with some stuff that I don't think you'll be like, oh my god, I can't believe I missed this. So let me look around here and see what I can find.
All right, it's all you.
All right.
Here you go.
All right. Hi everyone. I guess I'm just gonna kind of go through here some stuff that I got. I'll start small. Y'all know I love Bruiser. For my 30th birthday, my buddy does films and makes special effects, so he made me a copy of the Bruiser mask, the cover. Show us your holy grail. I'm gonna wait for Landrum to get back for that one, because they're sitting over here. But this was my my Bruiser mask for my 30th anniversary, or my 30th birthday. Sorry.
You're bringing out the Bruiser stuff already without me? Come on, dude.
It's just a mask my buddy made for my birthday. It's
that's still
holy
pretty
shit,
cool.
Griff is here. Oh my god, I love Griff. Griff is another one that he and I go back 20-25 years. I actually met him.
Oh, he was in the chat last week with Norman too. I didn't know, but I always love the name the Masked Fondler.
Griff,
I like that.
Griff is an OG. Like, I met Griff for the first time in 2008 when they were filming the 40th anniversary One for the Fire doc for Night of the Living Dead.
Mm-hmm.
That was the day we spent in Evans City with Russ, Judy, George Cassana, filming all that stuff. And it was like the first time that Griff and I had met. We had known each other for about 10 years. So it was, and I didn't expect him. I don't know if I expected him to be there or not, or if he had said anything, but that was a cool day. That was a very cool day. And finally getting a chance to meet Griff. So it's always nice when he pops in from time to time. And
yeah, what's up, Griff?
Yeah, dude.
I'm not just going to know you as the Masked Fondler. I don't know if that's what you want to go by on a regular basis, but I love the name anyway.
Yeah. No, that was a fun day. I mean, that was fun watching Russ and Judy and Cuss in the cemetery, kind of redoing their stuff. And that was when we got to actually go to the house. It was my first trip to the house. We actually had to go down and film there and do all that stuff. So that was another fun day. That was a completely random day that we had a chance to go and just kind of hang out and see them do their thing. So that was fun.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I did get to meet Heinzman and Cassana back in 2008. I was at that Texas Frightmare weekend where they had the 40th anniversary night screening, and they were all there. And I remember Cassana had his hat like with the cigars in it and stuff, and he was like just really, really cool. Heinzman was too, man. It was my first time meeting anybody. His first time meeting George, first and only time meeting George. Everybody there was just so cool, so nice. I remember meeting John Russo and telling him I was from Kentucky, and all he could ask me about were like Louisville Slugger baseball bats. I was just like, I'm not from Louisville, dude. I don't know. It's just like, oh yeah, well they make baseball bats there in Kentucky, don't they? It's like that's all he knew about Kentucky. I was like, yeah, I guess. I don't know, but yeah.
I remember running into Bill Heinzman at Kevin's original store in the mall back when it was mainly Time and Space toys, and in the back he had kind of had the zombie stuff. Mm-hmm. And I want to say like my son was maybe 1 at the time, so it probably would have been 2009. And I remember just walking in the back, and he's sitting there at that point. Kevin had a flat screen, and he was showing the Dead Walk Again documentary from the Anchor Bay Dawn of the Dead set, and he's just sitting there watching it. And I look over and I'm like, Bill? He goes, hey, how you doing? And we sat there and talked for 20-25 minutes. And he was like, all right, I gotta go get with the wife and everything. But yeah, I mean, Bill Heinzman couldn't have been nice. He was such a sweetheart. I love
Oh
that
yeah.
man.
And when I met him, he was in like full makeup and everything too. He was still doing that. I was just like, this is. I have
That
a
was the
picture
first time I met
somewhere,
him.
but
Yeah.
yeah. Matt brings up, I'm jealous of the folks that still have the lights from the mall. I think Bob has a set too. Yeah, we were just talking about that before we came on live. Do you want to? If you guys can see the lighting fixture back there behind Matt is from the Monroeville Mall before they changed them all out, and Matt was one of the few people that were able to get their hands on one. How did you get those lights? Did you just were they tearing them down and you just happened to be in the right place at the right time, or what?
Yeah, the 2004 Pittsburgh Comic Con was happening, and that was when they were still doing the tours with the cast leg tours through the mall. And at the end of the tour, they were like, "Hey, we took these lights down, and we're selling them. If you would, like to buy them, you can buy a pair, or you can buy a set." And I was like, "I'll buy a pair. I'll buy a set." I didn't plan on it, so I actually had to call my mom. And I'm like, "Hey, can I use your card to buy these mall lights?" And my mom was like, "Yeah, sure."
It's a good mom. It's a good mom.
Yeah, exactly. And at that point, like, only had a car, so I was like, "How the hell am I going to get these back?" I was still living at home at the time, and I was like, "How am I going to get these 3 hours down the Pennsylvania Turnpike?" So it was like I had to like put them in the trunk and like tie the trunk lid down. And I was like, I barely did the speed limit on the way home because I was like, I don't want to mess these up. And they give you a little certificate of authenticity and everything. But I want to say they had 80 pairs because on the back of mine, I have number 2 of 80. The mall kept number 1. And I got number 2. I think it was of 80. And I don't know how many people bought them that day, but I do remember being in touch with the manager of the mall at the time, and she had, I forget, I had emailed her about something, and she kind of emailed me back. She's like, "Well, we still have lights available," and I was like, "How much?" And she was like, "Original price," and I'm like, "If you're trying to get rid of them, like you should be selling them cheaper." Like I was gonna legit go out and buy like a couple more pairs, just to get just in case. I was like, it's the mall. I want as much as I can.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I brought them home. I went to Home Depot and got some cord and a plug, and I rock them from time to time when I'm down here. I want to put some color changing LED lights in them just so I can mood lighting or something if I just want to do something different. But yeah, it's so weird to have them, like, just when you see them, it's the mall in the movie was its own character.
Oh yeah.
And like when you have stuff like this, it's just super cool to have. And it sucks that not a lot of fans have them. I think they threw the remainders out. I wish they could have thought to keep
it's like
them.
you said, it's like the mall is like it's like the main character of the film. And it's like, how some people like, I'm sure you have some stuff like this where it's like, screen worn something from a character in a movie, this is the gun from this movie, or this is this, or this is that. There you go. So is that from the movie? That's an actual.
Yeah. That's one of Big Daddy's jumpsuits and one of his jackhammers. I got them when the production designer Alex Cavanaugh was doing an auction, probably 2013.
Wow.
I think so. I was able to get one of the jumpsuits. I got the jackhammer. I have a Fiddler's Green menu, and I have the tambourine from the Tambourine Zombie as well.
Oh wait, got it. There you go.
Here. So you can see it's got where he's.
Yeah.
He's kind of punching it. So yeah, so I haven't met him yet, but I would totally get this signed by him. But yeah, I got that, and I don't know where my Fiddler's Green menu is. I must have that stored away somewhere. Yeah, I must be in one of my bins. I thought I had it out here. I've been doing a lot of rearranging lately, so it's been.
Me too. I went with the original intent of like, well, I'm going to put this up on the wall somewhere. So I had to make some room. And then that just turned into, I'm just going to rearrange and redo my entire room down here. So
you need a house of walls. Like
you really
your
do.
Basement just needs to be a labyrinth of walls. And I just said this to a buddy of mine the other day. I was like, there's so many posters and stuff I want to hang. And it's like, I have to build more walls just to put this stuff in. And, you know, it's just every time I come down here, I'm like, oh God, what do I want to put up? What do I want to move? And, you know, I don't want to just put stuff in bins, but I understand like that's part of the collecting.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, there's certain things that'll never, you know, not be displayed.
Yeah. Well, I know Landrum. I know he's got a bunch of posters and shit on the ceiling at this point, and I'm getting there. I got like, yeah, I'm just running out of space here, even on the ceiling to put shit. So it's. But I keep buying shit. I just bought something today, and I'm just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but I have to have it. Like, what do I do?
Yeah, I get. You know, it's hard when the item is not something you can put on a shelf or easily put somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, I definitely have a poster fetish, like a lot of folks. You know, posters are just great pieces of art, especially from overseas. I think overseas definitely has
Oh yeah.
the monopoly on wonderful, you know, poster art. But
Especially those
you know,
Thai posters or the like from Thailand and those types. It's just like,
I
what were they
know.
on when they did this? But I love it.
I know. I just ended up buying a quad, a Blair Witch Project original English quad. I never had a full size one, and I found one on Whatnot for like $20. And then I got a full size What Lies Beneath poster. I'm a big fan of that movie, and I'm like, I don't know, you know, who will sign it, but I know Clark Gregg, who played Agent Coulson in the Avengers movies, he was the writer on it, and he did a GalaxyCon last year. I'm like, okay, well, if Clark Gregg comes around, this is what I'm taking to get signed. So I like to have those different types of collectibles to get signed, but it's just a cool poster. And I always lie to myself and say, okay, I'm going to swap a poster or two out here and there just for a while. I do have some that I'm going to switch out. I have a Man of Steel poster that I want to swap out for a Superman 2025 poster that I got signed by Lloyd Kaufman and a couple of folks who were extras in the movie. So I'm going to do some of that. But yeah, unfortunately, a lot of stuff does kind of stay in bins, but I always look at it as like, we have them as fans. We're cherishing them, whether or not they're rolled up or on the wall, they're safe. And we have them.
I always say that. I always love that. I always love knowing it's like, you know, somebody, you know, gets something from a movie or something, or preserve something from a movie. I just love knowing that somebody has it and it's safe. It's not, you know, in the trash or just buried somewhere. You never know with a lot of this stuff. So
yeah, I've been on the hunt. I need a couple of mannequins because I have a couple of other screen used outfits that I want to put on mannequins, and I need like 2 male and another female one, and I keep finding mannequins, but then I'm like, they're too expensive. So they're just kind of sitting here waiting to get put on.
Your room's gonna look like
it's
gonna be like Joe Spinell's apartment in Maniac. You're gonna have all these mannequins just sitting around. People are like,
I have one on the other side of this wall. I have I'm a big fan of Stigmata. I know it's not the best film in the world, but I love Stigmata. So I have 3 outfits from Stigmata. And I have Patricia Arquette's pajamas from the final scene on the other side of my wall. And I have Patrick Muldoon's club outfit that needs to get put up. I have a 2016 Blair Witch outfit. And I've got some other stuff that I want to get on mannequins. I have some other stuff upstairs that's just like one piece. Like I have Judy Greer's sweater from Halloween Kills. Just in a shadow box, and I have some other Stigmata stuff upstairs as well, but just not like the full outfits. But yeah, like I'm totally gonna have mannequins, and the mannequin that I put on the Stigmata is actually from the Macy's that they used in Mannequin. So when they were closing the store last year, I drove down and bought mannequins from the mannequin store to put in here. So that's the type of nerd that I am.
That's how far you go. It's like I have to have collectible mannequins to put my collectible clothing on.
I had to at least get one. And at that point, by the time it took me like 2 hours to find like a complete mannequin, because I bought one for myself, and then I bought 2 others for friends of mine. And trying to piece together mannequins in a store that is closing, that is 3 stories tall in Central Philly, I did a lot of walking around that day. And I went home with 3 mannequins. And I took my mom with me, which was kind of fun because she had never been to the store, but she's a big fan of Mannequin as well. and we're just kind of pushing this cart of mannequins down to the parking garage, and like, the car is just full of mannequins, and like, she totally gets it. But it was just kind of fun. I was like, hey, let's go buy mannequins from Mannequin and, have some fun with it. And, that's just kind of how I am.
That's amazing. I remember watching Mannequin in daycare when I was younger. Some girl brought it and was like, this is one of my favorite movies, and we watched it in daycare. I don't know. That's my first exposure to it.
I drive by the store Illustra every day to go to
so
work.
That was shot. We're okay.
That was shot right in my area. Yeah, the Hershey Gardens, 5 minutes from me is where he's like trimming the hedges into a rabbit and gets fired. Illustra is a Boss Cops department store in Camp Hill, which I literally have to drive by to go to work every day. So I see Illustra every day when I go to work.
Wow.
The rest was down in Philly, about an hour and a half from me. So, Mannequin was always one of those as I was a kid, just one of those things that I just grew up still loving. So I just, tried to do what I can to keep that alive.
Yeah, Matt brings up, you talk about posters, the Baroque portfolio. Have you seen those? It's
I think I have
binder for posters, basically.
Yeah,
I need to get one of those.
Expensive though.
Yeah, they're pretty pricey.
It's amazing how going from 24 by 36 to 27 by 40, the price jump for that size.
27 by 41 is even like astronomical.
It's just insane. I have an original Dawn poster, folded Dawn poster, mint condition, that a buddy of mine traded me for. I haven't gotten to get a good frame for it. Like I want to get the good frame and I want to hang it. It's unsigned. It's going to stay unsigned. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I have that one, and I have a little Darlings poster that's 27 by 41. But it's just amazing how much that extra inch from a 40 to a 41 costs you. And
it's insane.
I know.
It's like most of the posters that I have still like either rolled or folded are the 27 by 41s. It's just because it's like I don't have the fucking money to spend on the frames for them. It's just it's too much.
I know, and then foreign posters. This Bruiser poster right here, it's shorter than other posters. So it's like I have this frame, and it's like I see parts of the frame behind it. I'm like, okay, I should get like a piece of poster board or something to put it back there so it doesn't. Doesn't look so bad.
I have that same issue with a lot of posters too. I'm just like, I gotta somehow finagle this thing to where it doesn't look as shitty. But it's like I want it up. Like I have my Knight Riders. It's like a German Knight Riders poster over here, but it's like again like that Bruiser poster. It's a weird size.
Yeah,
but it's just like, well, I'll cover up that.
It's either like fat this way or fat this way, and yeah, I have an original Knight Riders, and I have I think a French or a German Creep Show, and I don't know how I'm ever going to display them. Because whatever house I move into next has to have enough wall space in the basement for just nothing but posters.
Yeah.
And legit need like a finished garage or other space to put these in, because there's so many that I've had for years. And I started a Google sheet just to catalog my posters so I know what I have. It's size, is it single-sided, double-sided, is it a theatrical, is it a custom, just so I know. And also which tube it's in. Trying to find a poster in a tube is one of the
oh yeah, I was doing that the other day, but I was like what is this oh okay, and you gotta roll it back up, and it's freaking hassle.
It's the absolute worst. I mean, it's such a first world problem, but it's one of those, like, I'm glad I have it, and I always feel bad that if I look at something, I go, I forgot that I had this. Like, it's like, okay, do I have a problem?
Have you ever bought a duplicate of something you already owned and then didn't realize it until you come across and you're like, oh, why did I buy this? I already have this. I've done that before.
Only comic books, believe it or not, only comic books. I have a very good visual memory of every movie that I own, so I could tell you like the exact edition. But when it comes to comics, if I miss an issue, I'll buy the issue, but then for some reason I never remember that I bought it, and then I come back and I'm like, I have 2 or 3 copies of the same thing. So that's why I started using the CLZ app on my phone, so that as I catalog it, I can go to the actual comic book store every week and realize that I actually do have this comic and don't rebuy it. But I just did it like 3 weeks ago. I bought a couple issues of Green Lantern, and I was like, look, I already have these. Like, why are these not in my app? But when it comes to other collectibles, usually no. I don't know if that's just because I try to temper that purchasing so I don't overbuy or buy something, especially if it's pricey. I think most collectors tend to have a good idea of what they have. But yeah, I don't think that I've ever really double purchased anything other than like a magazine or a comic book. I don't think I've gotten to that point yet.
I've done that. I do that with Blu-rays a lot. Like, 'cause we have a little store here in Evansville where, it's a lot of used stuff. You can get, buy 3, get 3 free type of stuff. And sometimes I'll just come across something and be like, oh, yeah, I love that movie. I'll grab that. And then I'll get home and be like, oh, it's the exact same. I already have this. Why did I buy this again? It's just like, happens fucking all the time.
Yeah, if
I just
you
have too
haven't,
many at this point. I think.
Blu-ray.com has an app, the website, Blu-ray.com. And I actually spent this past week about 4 nights finally scanning everything. They have a barcode scanner built right into it. And it's for all over the world. So all your foreign releases and stuff. Because I wanted the only way that I can put my Blu-rays and 4Ks in order is alphabetically, just based on space limitations. So I was like finally scanning them just so I knew what I had in case it came up sometime. But that's what I use. I use the Blu-ray.com app. I made my Google sheet for my posters just so I know what tube they're in. If I'm like, oh, this person's coming to this show, I want to get them signed. I'm like, I don't want to tear apart 30 poster tubes that I have looking for that one poster.
Right, yeah.
I could tear apart one
That's
poster
my problem.
tube and whatnot. But yeah, movies I'm pretty good at. I have a pretty good memory of those. Every once in a while I will question myself because I'm not sure if that's like a reissue or they're using the same artwork for another edition. But I usually try to double check to see if what I got, but I haven't bought duplicate Blu-rays yet.
So Jeff had a good question. I think he was talking about some of your like screen worn stuff. How did you get that? But that's a good general question. How do you come across a lot of this stuff? Is it mostly eBay, auctions? Like, I'm sure a lot of people wonder, how the hell do you get a hold of this stuff? I wonder that sometimes too, like with the lights and the screen worn Big Daddy stuff.
Well, the lights directly from the mall just happened to be there when they were doing it. The Land of the Dead stuff, my friends that live in Canada, I guess kind of kept in contact with Alex Kavanaugh when she was auctioning off some of this stuff, so they were able to let me know. And I was like, okay, bid on this stuff for me, and then they were actually coming down a couple of months later, so they brought it to me. A lot of screen worn stuff, yeah. eBay, I've bought. I'm trying to think. I've bought a couple of things from Stigmata on eBay. I bought a Priest outfit. And I bought Portia de Rossi's necklace from eBay. But there's a lot of prop groups on Facebook. I just happened to be a part of and lucky enough that someone happened to be posting something from like Stigmata or whatever. And they're really good at, I guess, like their own type of authentication where they can say, okay, here's this. Here's the scene that it was in. And you just kind of have to be careful as to what it is. With a film like Stigmata, it's not an overly popular film, so I haven't had to shell out too much. But
so price like kind of varies depending on what movie it is and how in demand, I guess, some of the stuff is.
Yeah, when you're getting into uber popular movies, or who wore it or used it, that's where your price point starts to go up. Most of those places are kind of self-policing, and if someone is trying to defraud, they usually kind of call them out pretty quick and kind of take care of them. So it's nice to kind of see, like, if you find something you like, read through the comments. And if
Mhm.
there's a lot of folks really kind of coming at that person or saying, like, wait a minute, hold on, this doesn't exactly match up, you just kind of have to do due diligence, but also think that what are you trying to buy? Is it something that someone would really want to counterfeit? You
Yeah,
know,
I wonder
it's
that too a lot of the time. Like I say, I come across something on eBay and I'm like, is this legit? Is this real? And then I'm like, well, who the fuck would go out of
I
their way to like fake this? It's like
yeah, like
something, you know.
when I was doing movie locations in North Carolina a couple years ago, I was in the alleyway from Halloween Kills where they were doing the flashbacks to 1978, and this guy was walking his dog, and he was like, "Oh, Halloween fans." And I was like, "Yeah, how can you tell?" He was like, "Oh yeah, no, that's awesome." He goes, "Yeah, I was." He's like, "I actually worked on production. They actually shot in front of my house." Um, so we chatted for a little bit. He was walking his dog, and we go over, and it was his house was where little Lonnie Glarum trips and sees Michael Myers coming his way. So as
Mhm.
we walked out, as we were there, he walked out and he was talking to me and my kids, and we went back and forth. He actually gave me like a crew shirt, a couple of crew hats, and all this stuff, and we
Hmm.
exchanged numbers. And probably 3-4 months later, he texts me. He's like, "Hey, my friend, she's looking to get rid of some of the costumes that she was able to keep from the movie. Are you interested?" And I said, "Yeah, send me your number." So her and I chat, and she's like, "Hey, this is what I have, and these are the prices." And I was like, "Well, I'm actually really interested in the Christmas sweater from Judy Greer because I just think it's just a neat Halloween type thing where it's a Christmas
Yeah.
sweater in a Halloween movie." So she sends me a picture of it, and you can match up the blood stains, and she actually has the tag with the scene that it was in. So I actually had a copy of the script, so I went through and I matched it. I said, "Okay." I said, "Let's do it," and she sent it off to me and whatnot. So you're lucky enough every once in a while to find folks that were part of it. um some of the stuff is just so weird that it's real. It's like a sign from like I have a sign from Diary of the Dead from the hospital. I have an exit sign from Halloween Kills from the hospital. It's just those little things that kind of I'd rather collect those than Loki's scepter from the Avengers.
Yeah.
Like I'm never gonna
Yeah.
afford it. I like to collect the stuff for me.
Yeah.
The things that I particularly enjoy. They might not be the most popular, or they're gonna get the most attention, but I have a connection to them, so
I think
that's
I
why I
think
like to keep them.
you have to collect that way. That's the way. I mean, that's the only way you're gonna stay sane. That's the way that I like. If I come across something on eBay, if it's like there's some connection, some weird connection to it, or I don't know if it's just so out of the ordinary and so out there. Like that's the stuff that I have to have. Like I have over here, I have like it's like one of those like promotional sheets that they would send out to different newspapers and whatnot when it's for Martin, but it's got like some really funky look like I don't know I can't think of like it's not John Amplis. It's like some phony looking vampire that you would find on what's the fake art that you would use back in the day on like Windows Word pad or whatever. But
Okay.
it's just this weird little odd thing that and for some reason it had my birthday on it, and I was just like, oh, I gotta have that, and I had to have it. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of it's just like, oh, I have to have this for this some random reason. It just caught my attention for some reason, and I have to have it.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that's the best collection that anyone can
Paul's
have
collection.
is
Have you seen Paul Farver's collection? It's
yeah,
like
I love
it's like
it.
it's like all this like random stuff that you see in like Dawn of the Dead and stuff that nobody else would ever collect,
I
but Paul is
I
just like, I have
love
to have that.
I love the ephemera that he has. Like
I do too,
I
yeah.
keep thinking like I do want like back here I have a sanitation kit and a water thing that I got for different birthdays and Christmases. Like I found the sanitation kit at a used bookstore by me. Like this was a bookstore that kind of had everything, but it's still full. It's unused. It still has the original toilet paper. Everything is like factory sealed. And then I found the water container on Facebook Marketplace. But it's just one of those things where it's like, it's such an odd collectible. Yeah. And I love it because it's from my favorite movie. And I remember buying from Will Phelps. I have a Dawn gas mask back there. It's the same model, but I think I bought it like during COVID from him. And I was like, just stuff like that I love to have. And I love what Paul does with the other ephemera, because it's like I keep meaning to do that and I always forget, and I'm so glad someone is out doing
I know
that.
I'm so jealous of it. Like when I see it, I'm just like, oh, why didn't I think of that? Like I remember at Living Dead Weekend a couple of years ago, he brought for Tom Atkins, who was there, he brought like a package for an old case of Ben Gay. And I was just like, wow, you really got to know, if you know, you know, type of stuff. And that's when you really got to know. But like Paul was like, yeah, I got him to sign it. And he was, and, you know, I was like, that's fucking brilliant, dude. Like, why, you know, what?
I went to the Real Mystic Pizza in Connecticut last year, and I kept the pizza box that we had some leftover pizza, and I took it to Annabeth Gish and had her sign it this past year. And she was like over the moon. She goes, oh my God, this is so cool. And I'm like, yeah, it's like, it's a pizza box from the Real Mystic Pizza and you're signing it. Like, she loved it. And they're great.
It's also, it's a great conversation piece. Cause it's like not one of those, it's, you know, everybody signs posters and everybody signs, you know, but it's like, you bring them something like that. And it's like, you know, it instantly strikes up a conversation where you're just like, well, wow, what made you think of this? Like, this is interesting. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah. And I mean, my Land of the Dead jackhammer is signed by Greg and Eugene. And I know people are like, you can't sign props. Listen, this is my prop. This is staying with me. And it's got deep meaning to me. And I wanted them to sign it. And, you know, whatever happens to it after I pass, and you know, my kids or whomever decide to do whatever, that's up to them. But I mean, it's mine, you know, and I'm going to do with it, you know, as I please. And it makes me happy to look at it because I remember the conversations that I had with them about it. And I remember that night, and, you know, and I think that's, you know, we shouldn't get so hung up on what other people are doing, or like, oh, it's going to devalue it. Well, if it means something to you, then there's no value to it, meaning like it's priceless. Like you can't put a price tag on it. And if getting something signed means more to you than leaving it unsigned, then get it signed.
Yeah.
Do it for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what most people should be doing. And, you know, I think we get too wrapped up in what the other big collectors are doing and whatnot. You know, if they want to get, you know, a hubcap sign that was on the car from the movie, get the hubcap sign. Who cares? You know, it's cool. You know, you got a story. You know, usually that stuff, you know, when they see that prop coming back to them, they're like, oh my God, I remember this. And they just give you this long story. And, you know, it usually, you know, leads to so many conversations that you didn't think you were going to have.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I was telling, if you can see back here behind me, I got a pair of the ice skates from the Monroeville Ice Palace from back in the day.
Nice.
And it's funny. I was talking to Norman England about it last week. We were just talking about like just those weird little collectibles from Dawn of the Dead that, you know, that mean so much to some people, but mean absolutely nothing to most. And the lady that I bought that from, she's from Monroeville. She grew up, you know, going to the Ice Palace and skating and all that. So she had those. She said, oh, they've just been sitting up in my attic forever. She had them on Facebook Marketplace. And I think she had like $75 or best offer or something like that. So I instantly, like immediately messaged her. And I was just like, I'll give you $100 for that. If you just send them right now. If you can ship them, I'll send you 100. And she was like, okay, yeah, I guess that's fine. And, you know, we went back and forth, and she was like, well, can I ask you a question? I was like, yeah, sure. Well, you know, what's up? And she was like, why do you want my ice skates? I was like, well, there's this movie, Dawn of the Dead. You know, it's from the movie. The Ice Palace is featured in the movie. Blah blah. She's like, oh yeah, I remember when they shot that there. Okay, I guess that makes sense. I was wondering because I had like 2 or 3 other people like right after you messaged me asking about them, and I was just like, why is everybody like desperately trying to get my ice skates all of a sudden? And I was like, yeah, I probably know the other people that probably sent you those messages too. It's
Yeah.
like we're a close knit group of weirdos who are like instantly like jumping on this stuff. But she was so fascinated by it. She was just like, "Oh, that's really cool. I had no idea."
I and that's what I love too is talking to people about this. And when you're like, why do you have this? And I go, well, first off, why not? And second, it's like it's a connection that we have to these movies, because if it wasn't for George in these movies, we obviously wouldn't be sitting here right now. We wouldn't have this network of friends and basically family at this point that we have, that we can share this stuff with. And it's just that stuff that kind of sets us apart from other friendships and other fandoms is I have so many parts of the mall sitting right here, and I've got gun casings.
Thanks
to
you.
Hey, there's the wood I gave you.
You gave me this wood, sir. And I can't tell you how excited I was when I opened this, and my fiance is just looking at me like, what is that? And I'm just like, you don't know what this is? Like, do you not understand? And she was like, okay.
I want to say, like, I think I have wood on every continent except Africa and Antarctica. I have to, because I've been sending out wood for like 13 years. So if there's anyone in Africa that needs some Monroeville Mall wood, I'll gladly send it.
I know Jace was mentioning in the comments earlier that he made an entire video about how Matt Blazi gave him wood. So
I remember taking that. I took that to the Days of the Dead show in Indy in 2017. Dave Emge was supposed to be there, and he ended up canceling while I was on the road. So I was taking my big piece. I was going to have him sign it. And George was supposed to be at that show too, and he had canceled. So I was going to get them both to sign the big piece that I have on the wall. But yeah, I've just been kind of parsing out. Like I got about like this much left. So for those of you uninitiated, how did you because this is for those of you that don't know, this is like wood paneling from the elevator, from the JCPenney's elevator, which is the JCPenney's, of course, is no longer there. How did you come to possession of this stuff? Well, when Penny's was announced that it was closing its original location in the mall and was going to move, I literally looked up who the store manager was, and I emailed them like the day the announcement came out. And I said, listen, big fan, would love whenever Penny's closes down, if I could get something from Penny's. I would love, something from inside the store. And pretty much
now that's a compliment right there.
That is, I don't know. I don't know how to take that. That is definitely, you don't wake up one morning and think you're going to hear that about something you did for someone. But I'm glad. Let's just say I'm glad. I'm glad my wood can provide you with such entertainment and pleasure.
Yeah, man. Your wood brings your wood brings pleasure and excitement to many across the world. So we appreciate it.
I'd like to think so. I'm glad, and that's all I want. I want people to be happy. We stayed in touch. I would say about every 6 weeks would email him updates, and eventually he was like, "All right, look, the store's closing on X date." And then construction, deconstruction, demolition is supposed to happen on this date. So if you want to come out on this date, we'll see what we can do. So we went out, and he was like, okay, what are you looking for? And I was like, well, the elevator. I was like, what's in the elevator that we can take? So Lee and I went out, and he wanted the control panel from inside. I said, all right. I was like, so let's see what we can do. And I had literally driven out with a toolbox because I wasn't sure what they were going to have. He left us alone in the closed J.C. Penney's. At 8 o'clock in the morning, he was like, all right, I'm going to head out. We'll see you guys later. Like, we were left alone in the J.C. Penney's in the Monroeville Mall.
Now, had they already started doing construction on it and like
No.
deconstruction, I guess?
No, the store was
Oh,
closed,
wow, okay.
but they had not started anything.
Okay.
So he was like, okay, well, go ahead. Like, he carte blanche, like, did not give us any limitations. So we told him what we wanted and if that was okay. And he goes, yeah, that's fine. So we went into the elevator and we took down the metal meshing, the metal grid at the top, which Kevin, I believe has. We took out the fan for a friend of ours. Lee wanted the control panel. And then actually we did.
That's what I was going to say. That probably happened.
Let me see here. Hold on. Let me go into my hard drive because I totally have video of that.
Oh yeah, we got to see that.
Let me find out where it is. So I mean, again, now we are in JCPenney's by ourselves. Okay, like no one is checking on us, and we are just like doing whatever. Like there's no checking in or anything. Now I want to see, am I going to have to, do I have to present? Okay. Let me see here.
Yeah, you should be able to just present. Yeah. There you go.
Yep. So I'm going to, hopefully this will come through. I mean, again, you're locked in JCPenney's on your own and no one is checking on you and you get to do whatever you want. Like that is a Dawn of the Dead fan's wet dream.
Yeah, I can tell you that's yeah. I've actually had that dream before, I think.
It says the video is too short. All right, let me share my screen here because it says the video is too short.
I've never heard that. I've heard like video being too long on here, but I've never heard an error for being too short. There you go. I see something popping up here.
Okay. All right. So let's see here.
Here we go.
Okay, that's not the right one. We took a couple videos that day. All right, here we go.
I'm not getting any audio on it.
Okay. Let me see here. Like that's, I'm trying to think. Maybe.
Oh man, we're stuck in the never-ending vortex here.
I know. Let me try to. Let me stop that. Let me see if I can pull it. So, we all day were just the biggest absolute nerds that you could think of. Okay, here we go.
Camera rolling.
Here we go.
And action!
We're in! Now how the hell are we gonna get back?
Who the hell cares? Let's go shopping first.
Woo! Watch it!
Hey, let's just get the stuff we need. I'll get a television and a radio.
Oh, lighter fluid and chocolate. Woo! How about a meat coat?
And cut.
It's perfect.
Like we spent a full like 8 hours there, and at the end of the day, my car was full. So this is the top of the elevator that you see in the movie. Took that off.
Oh wow.
And then whatever wasn't nailed down, but then this is the panel. Where it goes down.
Oh yeah.
So there's the upper level from the escalator, and then some other parts of the escalator, and then that's the other part of the escalator that you see Roger when he's sliding down. It's on the left side of the screen. You can actually see that panel on the in the film. So that
Did you take a U-Haul?
no, I fitted inside a Jeep Liberty. And let me tell you, I'm 6 foot, and that was it all the way in. And I drove 3 hours like this. Like I had to be pushed up against the steering wheel, and it was so worth it.
Totally worth it.
Let me see. I might have.
Well, Stezio's wanting to know: did you slide down the escalator? I'm assuming you did.
That's what I'm looking for. That's
there
what I'm
you
looking
go.
for.
I was like, if you're in JCPenney's, the whole place to yourself, you can do whatever you want. There's no way you didn't.
No, hold on. That. Yeah. Go ahead and click that new one that I just.
Woo!
Right.
Woohoo! Yeah!
Oh shit! Let's see that again. Hold on. Let's start. Here we go. Instant replay. Here we go.
Woohoo! Woohoo! Yeah!
I have another one from a.
God damn, dude. That's like my dream.
Yeah.
I just literally
redoing every time we had to walk up and down the stairs. This is how we went down to the first floor. So the other one I have is it's another perspective.
That looks scary as hell. Actually, like when you start it, like
it, dude. It's
like
fast.
So looks like you fell pretty hard there.
No, I didn't fall, but it was. I was wearing like gym pants, and now if you notice in the video on the left-hand side, the floor is open. So if I hadn't pushed kind of my feet out, I would have fallen into that hole. Like my left foot would have caught that hole, and I probably would have broken my leg.
Jeez.
So yeah, I had to be careful. But
they were very trusting of you.
I probably did that 20-25 times. It was we would just
imagine.
go up. It was just like a kid. We just went and did it just constantly. I
always heard that they added like, or heard that they added pegs or something to it to keep people.
That
from
was
doing
back in
that
I think back in the 90s, but they had taken them out by the time I went.
Hang on, let me make sure we're starting from the beginning here. I usually hit this and then it'll. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. This is from the movie. It's shot from the movie.
Woohoo! Yeah!
So you can see the hole in the floor.
Oh yeah, right.
So
yeah,
you got to think about it. It's like when you're going down that,
you got to clear that if nothing else.
Yeah. So you got to think about that. I mean, you could see the speed that I got.
Yeah.
And it's, as you get down there, you're like, oh shit, am I gonna be like, woo? But it was all day. We did
I could watch this all day. I'm I'm just gonna keep playing it. It's fucking awesome, dude.
Like
the stream has just turned into a video of us just like examining this, like we're watching a replay from a football game. It's just like, okay, was he in or was he out? It's like,
yeah,
that's so cool, man.
And that was one of the absolute most fun days I ever had. I was a kid. I was a big kid, and we sat in that Penny's, and I don't think we did not leave to eat lunch. We didn't do anything. Yeah. And that's what we were going for.
Yeah, people are loving it.
I'm so glad I got a chance to do it. I know that there's every Dawn's fan's dream to do that. And
I never made it to the Pennies. I didn't get to the mall until 2021. And I already missed it.
Every single time that I went to the mall from 1999 till 2012, I parked at Penny's, walked in the door right next to the elevator, would turn and look at the elevator, would walk out and stand where they did the No More Room in Hell scene, and then I would go on my way. But I always, every single time for 13 years, rode the escalator at least once and rode the elevator at least once. Every time I was in Penny's. So if I was leaving the mall for that day, I would leave from the second floor, take the escalator down, and then I would take the elevator up, and then I would leave the mall. That is exactly. I'm in a creature of habit to begin with, but I did that every single time, and I can still smell pennies. Like, it just, not that it smelled bad, but I can just smell the store.
Dude, I know what you're talking about. I feel that way about the mall now. Anytime I go to the mall, like as soon as you walk in, because I always go in through, the biker entrance or whatnot. It always has that popcorn and sweet smell to it. Like it's a very distinct, but it's exactly what I always dreamed that mall would smell like somehow in my mind. Like before I'd ever been there, it was like I've been to that mall and know that mall. And then when I finally got there, I was like, this is exactly what I had in mind. Like the smell of it. Like we were talking about that. I think it's like me and Paul, maybe. We were talking about Matt. I think when we had that round table, we were talking about the mall has a certain smell to it, and it's not a bad smell, but it's just like a certain, that you're there type of smell,
Yeah. So click on the picture that I just put in there.
All right, what we got here? Oh wow,
we're in the elevator, and we're standing and we're talking, and so each elevator has an outer door and an inner door. And we're standing there, we're looking, and I said, hey, look at this. And Lee comes over and we're like, let's close the outer doors. So we close the outer doors. This is blood from the original film that was still on the doors that Kevin has now in the museum. We were the ones that discovered it, which is why Kevin has the doors. Because we told him, we were like, Kevin, there's blood here. And he was like, oh, basically like, I want this for the museum. We're like, okay, but make sure you get these, because at this point we didn't know that existed. We had no idea that blood was still there.
See, I'd always heard like that. I've rumors that was like, oh, there was still blood on the elevator doors or something like that. So I've never seen that before. That's awesome.
So I just put another picture in there. Pull that one up. You can see the directional pattern of the blood. So when you watch the movie, and the David Crosby zombie gets shot, that's the blood going between the doors.
Wow.
That's still there.
Wow.
Like obviously they're not thinking of cleaning it because they didn't see it.
Yeah.
So
that's insane.
Finding that day was just absolutely phenomenal. And obviously, and then I just put another picture in there. We looked behind the Formica wall, and we realized that the paneling was still there. And that was the mall paneling that they had just covered up with the, you can see the Formica paneling on the one side. And that's the grid from the ceiling that we had taken down for Kevin. But that was what we had discovered taking apart that elevator, and that was why that was such a focal point for us, because we wanted to see what was still there. Because it's such a there's so much happens in that one elevator. And like we didn't want that to be gone, and that was a point for us. Like the entire day was spent inside that elevator just goofing around. And I just put another one in. Like I said, carte blanche. No one. There's on top of the elevator.
Holy shit! You actually climbed up on top of the elevator.
Of course, we weren't leaving unless we did everything. It's we took Kevin up there. We did all of this stuff, and we were kids in a candy store. It was.
Oh, I can tell by the smile on your face in that picture. You look like a kid in a candy store. That's for sure.
Dude, if you would have told teenage me, not even kid me, but like teenage me, 16, 17-year-old me, that one day I'd be able to not only just go to the mall, but then be able to do shit like this, I would have been like, whatever. That's impossible. And then just to be able to do that, like I hate that it's gone. And but I just can't believe that all of this stuff was, there's still so much that is able to be saved. And and again, that's why I send the wood out to people, because I'm like, it's such a small piece of history that it's Kevin.
It's Kevin Christ, the Kevin, guy behind Living Dead Museum, Living Dead Weekend. For those of you that are
So I wanna.
initiated.
So here's some other pictures. Now this is actually when they started to actually demolish Penny's. So, and then the next one is the actual elevator shaft from the first floor. This was December of 2012 when I went out to do my annual shopping trip. I asked them if I could come in, and then the next picture that I put in, it's actually looking down into the elevator shaft. And now I'm wearing a hard hat at this point, but I climbed down into that and I found these other 3 pieces of wood that I salvaged from that demolition thing. So these 3 pieces, these stay together because these were like the last absolute pieces of wood that I was able to get.
The last surviving, yeah,
that was the absolute last that I could get from that day. But I legit walked up to the guy and I was like, can I go see the elevator? I just put another one in. You can tell by the look on my face that I'm not exactly happy.
Yeah,
active demolition site, and I'm just sitting there going, "Well, fuck, this sucks."
It's really depressing to see that, especially after watching you go down the escalator, and Penny's was still there, like it was empty, but it was still there.
Yeah,
and now
I put
it's
one
like,
more in
yeah,
there for you. So that left side piece of that escalator is what's behind me now, and again, you see that in the movie. So I was actually able to take that out before they got there, and whatnot. And I guess we weren't supposed to, because I guess they were supposed to take that escalator to another store.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I kind of heard about
so
that
much for that
fact.
shit. Yeah, so much for that.
Yeah. So we kind of foobarred their plans a little bit, but it was, Kevin was able to go in afterwards, and that's why he's got parts of the escalator and stuff in the store and whatnot. And I know I at one point, like when they're standing in Penny's after they first all 3 get together, Ken, David, and Scotty, and they're talking, and they're in the carpet section. There's a pillar in the store, and in the back it's got like it's like a fire extinguisher or a fire placard. A buddy of mine wanted that, so I had to go up on a ladder and chip it out with a screwdriver in the plaster and the drywall to get it out. So I had to like pull that out. When we were pulling the fan out, I got like a face full of dust, so I'm sure I've got like asbestos in my lungs from Dawn of the Dead. It was a sad but fun experience. It's a really weird feeling. But it's I'll turn it here. But there's the paneling.
Oh, there we go.
That's the paneling that Dave dies in front of. That's from the bottom left corner of the elevator.
Wow.
So
I didn't know you got the whole thing. Wow.
Oh yeah, dude. I kept that whole bottom panel. We both kept half of the escalator or the paneling. So I kept the left side, he kept the right side, and I just started parsing out the top part to send to fans and whatnot, just so folks could have a.
What about those 2? I see those 2 signs there, the numbers over your left shoulder there. You want to tell people what those are?
So those are parking lot signs. So when I went back to the mall in later 2004, the manager was like, well, we have some old parking signs. Do you want them? And I was like, yeah, I want them. So if you look in the movie, when the voiceover with Dr. Miller Roush is talking about the zombies, and you look in the front where the zombies are coming in and out, you actually see the number 68. It's from the original front of the mall where like Barnes Noble and stuff is now. So when you watch the movie, you'll see that 68 sign, and 67 was one over, but you don't get a chance to see that in the movie.
Yeah.
So I was able to bring those home with me as well.
See, Shit, I keep knocking you out of here. Hang on. Hit the wrong button. But see, like that's what we were talking about. It's like those weird little things that means nothing to most people that means so much to us. It's like to me, like just seeing that is just just amazing stuff. Brandon brings it up here though. It's like wow, seeing these photos, seeing what is gone. It's like a premonition of what is to come in 2027.
I don't want to talk about it.
We don't have to talk about it, but do you have any plans on kind of a similar expedition?
If I can, if I'm lucky enough, it's not going to be just for me. I want to get stuff for folks that wouldn't be able to. Because it's an important place in our lives. It brings us together. The great work that Kevin, Larry, and Daz do with the Living Dead weekend, and just we just go to the mall to be at the mall. Like every year, I do Christmas shopping at the mall. For the last 26 years, I've done Christmas shopping at the mall, and just to go out and hang out there. So many people get a chance to do, and unfortunately, so many people haven't been able to. So, if I'm lucky enough to go out and whether or not I get a bucket full of stuff or I get a truck full of stuff, I want to share that with folks. That's, people have done that to me. I want to do that to others. I have, there's pieces of the Penny's exterior right there, that I took from 2012. So that's, I just grabbed that as I was leaving after, being in there from the escalator. So I was, I just kind of grabbed those, which is why I do the wood thing. I do it with the Blair Witch stuff. I send people sticks from the Blair Witch, Stickman woods and whatnot, just because it's tactile, it brings you,
it's like having a piece. Yeah, it's like having a piece of the movie. It's like, it's like my buddy, our buddy John Vulo said. I still quote it all the time now. It's just like it's the closest we'll ever be to being on set. It's like it brings us close. The more information we have, the closer we can be to it. It's almost like that's as close as we'll ever get.
That's what I tell folks. I was like, the best thing I could equate it to is going to the mall is like walking on the set for the Bridge of the Enterprise. If you're a Star Trek fan, like you get to go be there, and it puts you in it. And yes, the mall looks completely different, but as fans, we look at the mall through the lens of a 1978 film. Like we're seeing it as it is now, but we're totally reliving that mall as it was back in the day. And that's how we're gonna always do that. And I think anything that we can kind of keep with us, back, when the mall was getting, this is just floor tile from Penny's. This is just tile from the floor.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't mean anything, but it means something to me. And the same thing, with the airport, I have parts of the airport. I've got, sand from Slaughter Beach in Delaware, which in Survival of the Dead, that kind of takes place, even though it wasn't in the film, but it's still Slaughter Beach. I've got all that kind of stuff. And it, when you look at it, it just invokes that memory.
Yeah.
And, when you think about all the people that you've gotten to meet and the experiences that you have, being up on the roof has been one of the greatest things that I've ever gotten a chance to do. And, going down and just being there, I would, if I wanted to, cause I'm lucky enough to be only 3 hours away. I could drive to the mall tomorrow if I wanted to and just sit there. And I've done that. I've just taken a day and just gone to the mall. Just because of what George means to me and the things that he has given me, friendships like this with you and so many other people, it just can't, I can't get enough of it. If I could go to the mall every week, I would. And I mean, I could, but I mean, it would be kind of disruptive.
Yeah,
trying to do other things in life, but I mean, it's
like, I'll be back, honey. I'll be back at later on. I'm going to the mall. Like,
I mean,
oh,
I've done it. I mean, when I used to work in retail banking, when I was in a branch and I used to have off on a Tuesday, I've driven out to the mall on a Tuesday. You know, before Permanis opened by me, I would go out, get Permanis, go to the mall for a
oh,
while, and
I
I'd
could
be
go
home
for
at
some
dinner time.
Permani Brothers. I think about Permani Brothers all the time.
Dude, I got one
I
5 minutes down the road.
Oh, you lucky bastard, man! And every time I'm just like, it's almost like on a daily basis. I'll think about it. I'm just like, man, I could go for the fries or something, but I don't know.
I
Something will remind me of
I
it. I'm like, God damn, I
when
could go for one of those
when
sandwiches.
they opened their first store in New York, which is about an hour from me, the first 100 people in line got free sandwiches a week for a year. So I drove down and spent the night overnight. I got down there about 8
That's
o'clock
fucking
at night,
awesome.
and I was like 40 or 50th in line. And you get a coupon for a free sandwich once a week for a year. So once a week for a year, I did not miss a week. I drove an hour out of my way to get a Permani sandwich. And then I did it again at the Hershey location, which is 5 minutes from my house. I love my Permanis, and I Stavrakis, a bunch of Burien and all those folks were like, Permanis. I'm like, yeah, dude, I love Permanis. Like, I get it. It's not, some people from Pittsburgh don't exactly
Yeah, it's
love it.
the local locals. It's like it's like I've heard that about like Iron City beer. Sometimes people are like, it's fucking it's piss or whatever. I'm just like, well, for me, I don't get Iron City. I only get Iron City once or twice a year when I'm in Pittsburgh. So it's special to me. Damn it, I don't care if it just if it tastes like piss or not. It's beer to me.
I have Iron City at every distributor in the area. I can always get it. No, a lot of times I do. Like when I go to conventions and stuff, I usually grab a case of IC and I do it. When I'm in Pittsburgh, I might grab a case from there and bring it home. I try to do as much.
It's just a piece of Pittsburgh to me. I don't know, man. I love Pittsburgh so much. Like finally going in 2021 was after years and years and years. Like originally in 2018, I was planning. I was like, oh now is the time. It's like it's the 40th anniversary of Dawn. They're having a big reunion at Living Dead weekend. You guys were hyping it up on WGON radio podcast. I was a diehard listener of that, which we can talk about here in a little bit if you want. I'll glaze you some more about that. But I'm fucking, I'm like, so 2018 is the year it's going to happen. And some shit went down, didn't happen. Finally in 2021, I go, and it's just like from the moment that we landed and went through Fort Pitt Tunnel and came out, right in downtown Pittsburgh, I was just like, it was like, oh my God, I'm here. I'm home. This is my place, and ever since I've been back like a dozen times since 2021 at this point. Like it's, I don't know. It's just this little thing like Iron City, Permani Brothers. I can't get enough of it.
It's never enough. Like, it's never going to be enough. And again, I'm probably going to try to go out in the next couple of weeks, just again, to go out. Like I just put a picture in there from 1999, my first trip to the mall, center court. It just looks so different.
Yeah.
It's just, I've seen every iteration of that mall since 1999. And, it's my favorite. It's my Graceland, as many people say, it's
still had the fountain there in 99.
Yeah, they still had the fountain. And again, I was going through stuff, and it was, back in the day, they used to give you like, they'd have these little newsletters, in the mall that showed you like all the stuff that was upcoming in the mall, and used to pick them up, and little mall directory on the back and whatnot. And it was just like, I have like, I would grab stacks of them. So these are like my extras from over the years, just kind of,
send one of those my way if you'd like.
Yeah, I'll send one. Yeah, I can send one to you. I got some stuff I can send you. It's just, I think one of the little like stands out there, like I just bought one of these little license plates. It just says Monroeville.
Paul's got that. It's like the Monroeville Monopoly or something like that.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Yeah,
I see that. I'm like, dude, I want that so fucking bad. Like, I gotta find one of those.
I have
because it had like the Pomodoros on it. It had Brown Derby on it. I'm just like, oh man, I gotta have that. It's so fucking cool.
Yeah, I have it's on my wall, and it's just called Wherever I Roam, Monroeville Will Always Be Home, and it lists like all the the hot spots in Monroeville, and of course it says Monroeville Mall on it. And I bought that,
Mhm.
because and then I think it was a vendor at Living Dead Weekend. Like they had these a couple of years ago.
I got one
I
similar to that up there. It doesn't
You
have
know,
the
I-
2
I-
mile thing on it, but
I snagged one of those, and this is actually a copy of the license plate that I have on my Jeep that I actually got signed a couple years ago by all 4 main cast. So this is the
that's
license
awesome.
plate that's on my Jeep. For some reason, PennDOT sent me a duplicate, but then I decided to get like George and the main 4 on it over the years. So I've just been, weird collectibles.
Mhm.
It never ends. It knows no bounds. I'm looking over here. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, this was a security camera from Penny's that I pulled out in October of 2012. I pulled that out, and then I was like, oh, it's just an old tape player from Penny's. Like, if it was just, why do I have this? I don't know. But
it's from Pennies, man. It's from
Penny's.
Pennies.
It's just one of those where I'm going to cherish the shit out of this because I got a good story about it. I'm trying to think.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about it. That's why I like doing these live streams and just talking about collecting, is just the stories that are connected to all this stuff. That's what makes it important. It's like, yeah, you could just go and just, I bought a big load of shit off eBay and I said put it away. But it's like, I love hearing about, you going to Penny's as it's closing and actually getting the stuff and the stories that go along with it. And Matt actually had a comment here a little bit ago asking about Lee Carr. You mentioned Lee. Matt says, are you still in contact with Lee? Haven't heard from him in quite some time. So I was curious.
Last time I talked to him was one of the last Living Dead weekends that he had been to. Might have been 2021, 2022. Haven't really kept up with him. It's been a while. Our friendship kind of fizzled out probably about a decade ago, unfortunately. Love the man to death. He and I were extremely, extremely tight. He was who I was in Land of the Dead with. I would go out and stay with him. He was with me with Tarantino and all that stuff. So he and I were pretty joined at the hip for a while. I hope he's been doing well. I kind of wish he would make an appearance or whatever, but I know things in life happen or whatnot, but a lot of my early Dawn memories are tied with Lee, especially probably like 2001 is when we kind of met, Pittsburgh Comic Con and whatnot. So we were pretty tight for a while. Like we talked all the time, and he was there with me in October of 2012 with Pennies, and whatnot. So it was a lot of great times. A lot of great times.
Yeah, I'd only met Lee one time, and I think it was at probably that last Living Dead weekend you were talking about. I had my my Making of Day of the Dead book with me, and I was getting everybody to sign it because I think it was 2021, I guess it was, because it was the Day of the Dead reunion. So I was getting everybody to sign that. Yeah, and I brought it up to I think it was Gornick that I brought it up to. And I was having Gornick sign it. We were talking about it, and he was like, "Oh, well, you should get him to sign it too." And I look behind me, and Lee Carr's standing there. I'm just like, "Oh yeah, will you sign this for me, please?" He's like, "Oh yeah, sure." It's just like, yeah. He's like, he wrote the damn book. I was like, I know, it's Lee Carr.
Yeah, when he released that book, he had a Day of the Dead cast reunion at the Barnes and Noble at the Monroeville Mall, and had a bunch of folks there, including Phil Kellums, right before he passed.
Oh wow.
And that was the only time I got a chance to meet Phil. So yeah, I got a bunch of folks to sign the book and whatnot and everything. I thought the book looked great. It was big. It was kind of an inspiration for my book. Kind of like looking through and that's a pretty neat formatting. I really liked what he did.
Yeah.
And I kind of took that and made it my own for my own stuff. But yeah, no, it was super neat. And, he did the Creepshow 2 book, which I thought was awesome.
I still need to pick that up. I still need to get that.
I need to do that as well. I remember running into him, I think right before he came out, he was up at the Mahoning Drive-In, for an event, and he and I were catching up, and it was nice. And Love him, love his girlfriend Renee, always been, super super gracious and kind. Always, would always stop and see him in Monroeville and everything, and just catching up. So it's nice, when just again with Griffin here, it's like, oh my God, this is like OG homepageofthedead.com type stuff where we only used to know each other by our screen names, and you never really met each other.
I know it's so weird,
emails.
Yeah, it's weird with like if I'm living the weekend or something like that, and somebody comes up to me and calls me Alpha, and I'm just like, what? Like, no, just call me Michael, man. Like, it's cool. Like, but that's just it's weird. But it's like you mentioned Homepage of the Dead. Like, man, I spent so much of my time back in the day on that fucking website, and it's like growing up, like. And I think I mentioned this to Norman last week. I was like, dude, guys like you and Norman and Felsher and Larry and Eric, who you work with on the Garf right now, like guys like you guys. Like I remember Axelish on fucking Homepage of the Dead back in the day. Like those are the guys that I learned from. Like those are the guys that I listened to. So like meeting you guys for the first time was kind of like, holy shit, like. You guys are kind of celebrities to me too. It's just like me and Matt, me and Landrum and Paul have all talked about that before, where it's just like, yeah, we grew up listening to you guys and getting our information from you guys and living our experiences through your experiences and being like, oh my God, it's like, oh my God, they went to the mall. They actually went to the mall. Like you can do that. I didn't know that. So it's crazy.
No, it's so weird. Like I remember being 16 years old and emailing Norman England. And being so nervous to email him because his Dawn site was the first one that I ever went to.
Mm-hmm.
And just being like, oh my God, and he was like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, good. Nice to meet you, kid. And all this. And, when I started my initial Dawn site, when it was like hosted through AOL, it was actually a Dawn of the Dead Evil Dead site because I was super into Evil Dead at the time. And he was kind of like, look, you need to kind of pick a lane.
Pick one.
So I picked
yeah
and
pick a niche, man.
Yeah, and that's where it kind of rolled into WGON and doing all of that through college and everything, and then kind of technology kind of someone strapped a rocket to the back of technology, and it was just kind of hard to keep up. And then at that point, social media started coming in, but it was like Norman was my OG. Like seeing his original, like I can't tell you, like I have a binder over here of like pictures I downloaded from his website and printed out because it was just like, I need to have all of this. And, meeting him and then, Neil from Homepage of the Dead was just like this like guy in England who was just always behind the scenes. Like we actually tried to get Neil on the Garf Network a few times and he's just not one for, public stuff like this. And we're like, dude, you were the reason like a lot of us got to know each other, when they did the first big Dawn reunion in 2001. A lot of us from the message boards met. Kyra used to have a chat every Wednesday night on her website. It's called Cellar Chat. And Wednesday night, a bunch of us at 8:00 would log in and just chat with Kyra and a bunch of us. And, there's a bunch of us that still are friends to this day because of that. And I think Neil at Homepage would have like a monthly Sunday chat where a bunch of us would get in and chat, and then we would start talking to each other, and we would have each other's contact, but it was all like screen names, so we would just always refer to each other by our screen names, and we're like, hey, Monroe,
Philly SWAT. Who was Philly SWAT? I remember that guy, Philly SWAT. I don't know if I remember figured out who that was, but I always knew him as Philly SWAT. I
want to say I may have met them, but yeah, unfortunately, some people have passed away. Our friend Sir Evil, he passed away. Steve Sukirio was a great dude. Met him on the message boards. I mean, just so many people that we were like, we found our people.
Yeah,
and it was just so weird. And it was,
I'm pretty sure at one point on my computer, like Homepage of the Dead was like, when you click on the Internet Explorer icon, it takes you to whatever your homepage is or whatever. The first thing that's going to pop up. Homepage of the Dead was my homepage for a while. Like I would just click on it and it would
Same
go
here.
directly to that. And I still have that fucking music in my head as soon as you go
Oh
in
my
there. You hear that.
god.
It
It was a MIDI file that just repeated over and over.
And I could sit and
because-
listen to that over and over.
And I remember my bedroom was right above my parents' room in my house, and my mom could always tell when I was on that website because she'd be like, "Can you turn it down?" And I have to turn the volume all the way down because it always had bass to it, and you just hear it right through the floor.
Yeah.
And I mean, just spending hours and then coming back at the end of the day, hoping that someone replied to your thread, or every once in a while, like Norman would or Neil would have like some of those files. Like I downloaded a bunch of files from there, scripts or artwork or whatever, and it was that site was the epitome of Romero fandom. And I remember livingdead.com when Stavrakis had it. That was a great site for a while, and then even when George had his own message board. That was a big to do for a while, but then George never liked technology, and he got frustrated very quick with message boards and computers and stuff, and he abandoned that after about a year or so. And
yeah, I think I remember him talking about that, where he was just like, yeah, after a while, I just realized that it's really not about me. It's just a bunch of people arguing with each other about nothing, and I'm just like, I'm out. Like, I don't want no part of this.
I remember. Now, this is going back a ways for you folks that don't know AOL. Oh yeah, that music will be in my head the rest of the night.
I wish I had that file. I would put it on my fucking iPhone or something. I would just listen to it.
I wonder if you can go back through the Wayback Machine and grab it.
Well, I remember when the actual site was still up, I would go and like try to, but the file wasn't actually working anymore. Like the music wouldn't play anymore. So I don't know whatever happened to that.
Yeah. So I remember, back when AOL was a thing, you used to be able to, you had your screen name and then you could make a profile. And you could search by screen name or whatever. And I remember finding George's AOL email address. And, if you found it, you could, click on their name and instant message them. So I remember I was probably 17 or so, and I said, all right, I'm going to be Billy Big Balls today, and I'm going to instant message George Romero, because I saw him on my friends list. So I type, and I was like, hi, Mr. Romero, I'm like big fan, whatever. And I get a message back. It was Tina. She was on her dad's AOL. And
she'd have been probably like, a teenager at the time, probably.
She probably would have been 13 or 14. I would have been like 15, 16. And I remember she was talking about, my dad really appreciates it. Yeah, he's working on a movie called Bruiser and whatnot. I'll let him know, blah, blah, blah. And it's just, I just remember that. Like, I had the gumption to do that. And like a year later is when I called Dave Emge at home and had a conversation with him on the phone for about a half an hour in 1999. I was a little brazen back then, but at that point, they're celebrities. To a kid, they're a celebrity. They're these larger than life icons, and just being able to do that was just, can't believe I did it. And I was like, well, I'm glad I did, even though it wasn't, it didn't really amount to much, but I still got to do it and got the interactions.
Yeah.
But that was, as a teenager, that was a big to do. You're talking to one of your heroes or a couple of your heroes. And
so what did Emge say when you called him? Because I can't fathom that. I hate calling people. I hate calling the insurance company. Like, I can't do that. So I couldn't imagine calling like, oh, here's David Emge's phone number. Like me and you mentioned him earlier, my good buddy Will Phelps. We went to David's funeral here in Evansville, and that whole time, man, I'm just sitting there like, man, I really want to go, but man, what if it's really weird? Like, I just have this anxiety of like, oh, they're going to tell us to leave, or like, the family's going to be like, oh, fucking Dawn of the Dead people, go away, or we were just really worried about that. So I've always had that anxiety about like interaction. Like, you never know how some people are going to take that, but luckily, like, his family was like the nicest people in the world, and they were just excited. They're like, oh my God, David's fans are here. Like, come on, you're part of the family. And me and Will were just like, oh, come sit with us. And we're like, oh, okay, yeah, I know. wonderful
Yeah.
people. But I've always had that
Yeah.
anxiety of just like, if I reach out and like, what if they tell me to go fuck myself?
Yeah.
Like I've always
Yeah.
had that. It's just like,
Well-
I don't want my heart to be broken by somebody that I look up to so much. If they're just like, hey, go fuck yourself, kid. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
I got better things to do than deal with you right now.
Yeah. No, when I called him, you know, I found his number and you know, it was ringing and I was like, he's like, hello. And I remember this. And I go, hi, Dave Emge? He goes, yes. And I go, Dave Emge from Dawn of the Dead? He goes, yes. And I go, hi, my name's Matt. I'm a big fan. I wanted to just call and say hello. And he goes, well, how are you? And we chatted for like 25, 30 minutes. And, you know, I kind of fanboyed a little bit, you know, just, you know, saying, you know, I was a big fan. I just never gotten to meet you. I've just always just been really, you know, into Dawn. And he, we were ending the conversation and he was like, oh, well, you know, give me your address. I could send you something. And I was like, okay. And about a week later, he had sent me 2 of these, you know, hand painted paintings that he had done of himself and had signed them to me.
Oh wow.
And mailed them to me.
Wow, I've never seen
So-
those before. That's pretty awesome. I didn't know he
Yeah.
actually did stuff like that.
Yeah, these were done by him.
Wow, that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
That's really
yeah.
good too. He's actually a pretty good artist.
Yeah, he
didn't know
was.
that.
Yeah. I just a week later these, you know, just showed up in the mail and you know, I finally got a chance to meet him in 2001 and you know, we stayed friends for quite a long time and when I got him as a zombie tattooed on my ribs for my 30th birthday.
Really?
And oh yeah, here, I'll flash you.
Hold on, let me full frame this on. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's PG show. I can't show too many nipples. But when
it's late. We can do what we want.
this is after
The censors
hours.
are
This
late.
is
this is
after hours. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
When I had seen him the following year and I showed him and I lifted it up and he goes, my boy, and he comes over and he gives me like this big hug and you know he was just so appreciative of it. And
well, that's
I was like, you know,
it's a great thing about like David or like talking, you know, like I didn't know that he was here in Evansville when he had passed away, but actually like going to his funeral, like I said, I didn't know how his family would take Dawn of the Dead fans showing up or, you know, how they thought of it or whatever. But when I showed up, like when me and Will showed up, they had like a poster board of like photos of him from Dawn of the Dead. They had his jacket from Dawn of the Dead. They had that on display. Like you could tell that he was so proud of his time and what he did with George on Dawn of the Dead, and his family was so proud of it. They just didn't know that he was as popular and as famous as he was. Like they were just like I had no idea so many people loved David because you know you see like on his obituary or whatever they had the spot where people could leave comments or whatever, and there were just hundreds from all over the world, and they were just like, we had no idea. Like to us, like Uncle Dave like was just like we would get together on Christmas and we'd watch the movie that Uncle Dave did back in the day, you know, and there was his sister joked, she was like, we always told him that was the best he ever looked was when they opened the elevator and he comes walking out, you know. But it's like it was like a personal thing to them, but his family just never knew how popular and we told him, we were just like, no, he's, you know, one of the most famous zombies in cinema history. Like your brother was a big deal. And it's, I love hearing stories like that where they, you know, they love their time that like, they don't look back on it and say, oh, that's something silly I did back in the day. You know, like some people, you know, may feel that way, like maybe like a Ted Danson or something. I've heard stories about Ted Danson where he doesn't want to talk about Creep Show or, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, I love hearing that when, you know, when the actors are as passionate and love the stuff that they did. Like I always say like John Amplis is probably one of the best convention guests you can get because nobody loves Martin more than John Amplis. Like John loves to talk about Martin and talk about the character and talk about, you know, his time on set. Like, and those are the best guests that you could meet at a convention, are the ones that love the shit just as much as you do, and they want to talk about it. Like, they can't wait to talk about it. Like my buddy Grande met John Amplis. I think it was at a Living Dead weekend. I think John, if he's still in the chat, but just talked to Amplis for like 30 minutes just about the movies and stuff. And Amplis just signed his thing and just for free and was just like, here, it was a pleasure talking to you. And I'm like, what other guests at a convention, especially nowadays, would do that? Like, oh, so many people at conventions now are just like, all right, give me the money. Like, here's your signature, give me the money.
And
go on.
And I remember, and this goes back to Lee, because Lee had gotten Amplis and Mark Tierno into doing shows. So the 2008 Horror Hound convention in Monroeville was John's first convention, and Mark had been there not as a guest, but kind of was walking around, and I just was floored by how awesome John was. I mean, I didn't have a frame of reference. Yeah. You know, I didn't know what to expect. And John's become such a great friend. And I remember Eric and I think this would have been 2021.
There you go.
We brought him over to our hotel in Pittsburgh, and we sat down and we did a long form interview with John about his career, probably about 2 hours worth. So that weekend we had Gary Striner, John Amplis, and Tom Atkins in our hotel room doing long form interviews.
Where are these?
They're in the archive. I'll have to get Eric to get John's done. I think we did work on Tom's. Like Tom's a storyteller. Tom talked for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And
I gotta hear these.
Yeah, Tom choked me up because he knew Christopher Reeve. So hearing Tom talk about him like really got me worked up and emotional. But John's such a great storyteller. I mean, John's a great person to begin with. I mean, you know, if John called us to arms, we would fight for John. We would carry the Amplis banner, you know, Game of Thrones style and shit. But you know, Amplis is just one of those guys who just loves it. And the people that George surrounded himself with all do. You know, when I met Leguizamo about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and I had him sign my Land of the Dead poster. He couldn't have said any more nice things about George. I pretty much had to stop him from talking about how great George was to just kind of like ask him a question. So he couldn't have loved George, working with George more. Mm-hmm. And you know, it's just one of those things where that's all you hear. And you know, the folks that Eric and I were talking to when we were starting WGON, when we were kind of getting into the weeds with the second and third layer characters or folks that were, you know, they gushed about George. I mean, even, you know, Joetta McClain, you know, had a great time working, you know, with George and all
not
this
so
stuff,
much,
you know,
not so much with Ray Lane though. She's
yeah, not so much with Ray Lane, but, you know.
I was so surprised to hear that. I was like, listen, I was watching it. I was like, ooh, okay. So she didn't have too much good to say about old Ray Lane.
Yeah,
but
and we kind of told her, we're like, you know, talk about what you want. You know, there's nothing that's, you know, off limits.
That was a great interview, by the way. I loved hearing that stuff.
She was, when I reached out to her, she was surprised, but not like in a bad way, but she was just kind of like, oh, well, yeah, but I mean, I wasn't there that long. And I was like, yeah, but you still were there. So let's talk about it. And we tried reaching out for Jan White. We made a couple of phone calls and stuff. We weren't able to get a hold of her. Now I know she is probably in her early 90s. You know, we couldn't confirm if she's still with us or not. We think she is, because we couldn't find anything to say she wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about Jan White in years.
I met her randomly in 2006 at Chiller. She just happened to be there. I wasn't aware of it. I got a picture with her. So it's the only time that I've seen her. But you know, when you meet some of these folks that worked with George, I mean, when we were talking to Ed Harris a couple of years ago, when we were talking about Night Riders, again, he couldn't shut up about how awesome George was.
Yeah, I've always heard that about, like, anytime Ed Harris, like, I remember I think they interviewed him for the directors. I think Felcher interviewed him for some bonus stuff for Creep Show for Just Desserts, I think. And yeah, it's just like nothing but like, Ed Harris just gushing about George. And of course he met, Donald Rubenstein through George, and they're still like best friends to this day, which is amazing. So it's,
that was Ed wanted to have, Donald on the show with him because they knew each other, and he was like, okay, well, I think it'll be better if we have Donald on. We were like, sure, we know Donald, we'll get him on. Whatever Ed Harris wants, we're going to do whatever Ed Harris wants.
Right. Yeah.
I talk to Ed probably about once a year. I usually email him on his birthday and, just say, hey, how you doing? And he's, it just couldn't be nicer. Anyone that has been in George's orbit is there for a reason. And it just goes to show the staying power that George had just by being himself.
Yeah.
And, and I think, like I said earlier, I think George got it. I just don't know if he fully understood why. He's like, yeah, I made movies. You guys like them. That's great. But then it's like, well, we keep watching them. They're comfort movies, I used to put Dawn of the Dead on just to study in college because I knew it so much.
Oh, I used to just go to bed listening to commentary tracks. Like I remember when I lived with my parents when I was in high school. I tell this story all the time. It's like, so on the box set, the Anchor Bay box set, the Ultimate Edition, I think it was the bonus disc that had like the Dead Walk and Document of the Dead and all that on it. I would watch that shit on like repeat because at that time, like that was my film school. I wanted to be a filmmaker growing up, so I'd watch Document of the Dead so I can learn how to do this shit. Like that's to me.
Yeah.
So I'd watch that shit going to bed at night, and then of course I'd fall asleep. Then it'd go back to the main disc menu, and it would just have that boom, 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 just on repeat. And my parents would wake up in the middle of the night or wake up early in the morning to go to work, and they would say, we could not get that fucking music out of our head because as we're getting ready for work, coming from your bedroom is this loud as hell, just going boom, 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 and it's like almost on a nightly basis. I was either watching, one of those things. It is such a comfort thing for me. I don't know, so much Georgia stuff.
I've ripped all the Romero commentaries and they're on my phone. So when I drive to the mall, I always listen to the cast commentary from the Argento cut. Like I know that one by heart. Like I know what they're gonna say.
Such a great commentary. It's literally like you're hanging out with them, like as they're watching the movie. And I think that was the first time they'd all been together since the filming. I think Felcher put that together. I think.
Yeah. I remember when he sent me that picture. I was like, oh my god, we got Galen and we got Dave and. Ken's like, welcome to the commentary for Dawn of the Dead, and you are here, and it's just like I can just,
and they're giving David shit the whole time. It's like, why'd you do that, David? What are you doing, David?
And I remember,
I'm in character.
Comic-Con,
Ken.
I was filming. I had a small VHS camcorder, and I remember I was filming the whole weekend, and I remember stopping at Dave, and I was like, "Hey, can we get a whoopee?" And he goes, you only get a whoopee if you pay for it now. And I just cracked up. Like he was just, these guys were just amazing. And, it's like, we collect this stuff because we want to have parts of that here. And, we always attribute something to the thing that we have. And, we tell these stories and everyone's got their own story. And, and I hate when someone says they didn't never get a chance to meet someone. And
I have those stories. I have those regrets.
I do too with some people. But the folks that I did get a chance to meet, I'm like, let me try to tell you a story just so you can have something, just to have something with it.
Yeah.
And
you always want to try to convey, what they mean to you, in some way, but it's like it never feels like it comes across. But you want to just let them know it's like, no, you are important to my life, and this is why. It's like, no matter how small of a role, and I say this all the time about like Dawn of the Dead, something like that. It's like no matter how small of a role you played in this movie, it's like Dawn of the Dead or George's films in general are just like it's like a giant puzzle. And it's like if this little piece was missing, that puzzle would be incomplete. No matter how small of a role that you played in it, like that puzzle would not be the same without you. Like no matter who it is,
Yeah.
And I want them to understand that,
Yeah. Yeah. It's, every person that Kevin has ever gotten for Living Dead weekend and being in Dawn, I've wanted to meet, because I'm like, this is the movie that it's like my patient zero. It's my starting point. Like, if it wasn't for this movie, I wouldn't have done the things that I've done in life, or, anything else like that. It starts with this movie. And I love it for that. And I want those people to know, like you said, like, I don't care that you were only in this movie for 15 seconds. You were a part of it. And I want to thank you for that, because again, I wouldn't have the friendships that I have. I wouldn't have the experiences that I had, and I wouldn't be able to share those with people that haven't been as lucky as me, or as lucky as some others, to keep this memory alive, to keep this, going, because it's important to us. And I never want that feeling to go away for myself or for others, because I think, as we get further and further away from when, Dawn was made and all this stuff, it gets a little harder. So I think it's great to have these stories, which is kind of why Eric and I had started WGON after George had passed, because we were like, okay, we hear all these big stories, but what about these other ones?
Yeah.
These other stories that we just haven't heard. And it's just as important to hear them, no matter what movie it is. And that's why we focused on a lot of that stuff, and doing the stuff with the Garf is, not just the old school Romero stuff, but then all the people that have been influenced by him, or the people that are up and coming, because the people that are making films now were watching the films that we were watching as kids, and they've taken the influence from them. They've taken the inspiration, and it's important that, we don't sacrifice the new folks in the name of the old ones, but we celebrate them all at the same time, and get a chance to really hear everyone's stories, because I think everyone's stories are important.
Yeah.
And it's not about how much we collect, or how much we have, or how many times we've been to the mall. It's like, even if you've only been to the mall once, that is the most important thing to you, and it should be, and that should be celebrated and talked about. And I love to hear those stories. I love to hear people talk to me about the first time they've ever been to the mall, because I see that excitement. I see, and I'm like, I remember that. And I wasn't able to really share that a lot, Homepage of the Dead and stuff, but we didn't have the opportunity to do stuff.
Yeah. If I tell people, when I tell people at work, like, all right, once a year at least, like in June, like I'm going to Pittsburgh, I'm going to a mall. They look at me like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? I'm like, just don't worry about it. Just trust me. This is what I want to do with my life. All right.
Yeah. I mean, I remember like asking off work. They're like, hey, I need like a couple of days off work. Like, I have to go to Canada. And they're like, why? I'm like, well, I'm going to be in a movie. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to, probably be a zombie in a movie. And they're like, okay. It's not stuff you hear about every day.
Yeah. It's not something you can, I don't know. Nobody else can identify with it. So it's like when you find those people, it's like I always says, like if you're a fan of Dawn of the Dead, you're a friend of mine, because they're so. Yeah. It's like we're a close knit community, because there's so few of us that speak that language. It's like I said, when you go to Living Dead weekend, it's like you're around a bunch of people that speak the same language, and it's just like, oh, okay, now I can be free to just talk. I remember getting on an elevator. I don't know if you're familiar, if you know a dude named Eddie Luna. Are you familiar with Eddie? So on the elevator at the Doubletree, first year I was at Living Dead weekend, and I'm going down. I got I got a T-shirt with the image of Peter and Flyboy at the bank, and they got the the money, and they take the snapshot. And Eddie's on the elevator with me. I'd never met this dude in my life. Never talked to him. Never said shit. We didn't hardly know each other. I just knew him from, Facebook, like some of the Living Dead weekend group or whatever. So but he just looked at me and he was just like, you never know. I was just like, and I just looked at, I was going, money, 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 and we just started quoting the movie back and forth, just like on a whim. And it's like you can't do that anywhere else with anybody else, and it's just it makes it a. That's the beautiful thing about I love doing this channel. I love working on stuff for this channel, and just people in the chat. I've met so many people in the chat that were big fans of this movie that never really had that outlet. It really had nobody to talk about it with. But then my fat head shows up on fucking YouTube, and I'm just like, George Romero, Dawn of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead. And they're just like, oh my God, I want to talk to this guy about Dawn of the Dead finally. And I meet all these people that have done these that love this shit as much as I do. And I'm just like, okay, we're family now. Let's do this,
Yeah.
It's great.
It was so weird after doing that video with Adam and being able to do that with him. And just over the years, so many people that have been like, that was like the first time I saw a video about, Dawn of the Dead and, I mean, same thing. I mean, Matt said, I couldn't put it any better. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, doing that video with Adam, and I get stopped at LDW, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I saw your video with Adam years ago," and I'm like, I was a part of the video. It wasn't mine. It was Adam's, and I was lucky enough to be a part of it. But it's just so neat that that's why I love sharing it, is because if I can hopefully share my experience that someone finally gets to go do visiting the mall or whatever else, I love that. I absolutely love that, because I love to see people have that same experience that I had, or and people inspire me to do that with all the film location stuff that I do. And I love how kind of infectious it gets. Like when you see people having fun doing what they love, you want to go do it too.
Yeah.
And it's just so fun to see people doing that. It's like, I may have done that a dozen times, but seeing someone do it for the first time is still great. I still love seeing people, just hearing the joy that they have, and that, they finally got a chance to go visit this or meet this person and everything. And it's like, we just have to keep celebrating that, because it just means it's never going to die. They're going to continue to pass it around and spread it. It's weird how it's kind of like a virus. Like we just want to infect someone else with our love of Dawn of the Dead.
We're like the zombies, man. We're just you get bitten, you get the bug, man. It's like the crazies. Oh, I got the bug,
Well, back in the day, it was hard to find people like us. You could read Fangoria, but you didn't know who else was. You didn't find other people like you. And it was like, I went to an officer training today for the speaking club I'm the president of, and I'm looking on the one table, and the girl's bag, she has Pennywise on it. And I was like, well, in the 90s and even early 2000s, you wouldn't have seen that. So it's just like, to see all of the horror and stuff kind of have made its way into the mainstream, to where it's not so niche anymore.
Yeah.
That people are okay flying that flag and saying like, yeah, I'm a big Fred head, or I love Michael, or I love Chucky. They're wearing it proudly. And I think that is been such a great thing for us folks. And I don't know if it feels like validation, back in the day before we knew each other existed, like for real, like we knew there were other people out there. We just didn't know where you were.
Yeah.
And gotta find someone like me, and it just feels nice that, there's people that have kind of gravitated towards this genre, and they're so willing to try and watch new things and get exposed to stuff, because there's not too many people that like horror that aren't willing to watch something.
Yeah.
And you can kind of really share some of that weird stuff with them and see how far they want to go. And if they don't like it, that's great, but they watched it.
Have you ever seen Cannibal Holocaust?
Oh, my favorite is Serbian film. You want to watch Serbian film? I watch that at least once a year.
Are you a fan of Salo? By the way.
Yeah.
It's like, sir, this is a Burger King. What are you doing here?
Yeah. I love infecting people with the Serbian film and Martyrs. That's my favorite thing to do.
I did that with when I was working at Papa John's. I was the general manager of Papa John's, and I had these had some young, because it was in a college town, so I was working with a bunch of college kids, and they were talking about, oh, you like all the horror stuff and zombie stuff. It's like, well, Halloween's coming up. What should we watch? What should we, what would you recommend? What would you recommend? And I said, well, there's this movie called Cannibal Holocaust from back in the day. And they're just like, oh yeah, well, is it really good? Is it really hardcore? Like, I'm like, yeah, give it a shot. And they went and watched it, came back. One dude wouldn't talk to me about it. He was just like, yeah, I watched that. Yeah. And the other dude was just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? He's like, that's not what we were talking about. We were talking about, like, Freddy Krueger or something. I'm just like, you didn't like the turtle scene, man? Like, come on. Like,
oh no, that's why I say like a Serbian film is a great family film. It's about family. It's about a family man trying to keep his family together and provide. I'm like, you just have to see what someone's willing to do for their family. I really sell it to them on that, and I'm like, just go and watch it. You never know what you just never know.
Ashamed of yourself,
oh yeah, no, I play it up as anything but what it is, and I've gotten a couple of people to watch it. And like I said, it's one of my favorite films to infect people with, because they've no idea what to expect, and it's just to see their reactions, when they're not really in the horror vein and they have no frame of reference for it. But yeah, Cannibal Holocaust the same way. Same thing with Martyrs. I try to get them on some of the good stuff, because then I can, like, okay, I know where their limit is, and then I can back it down. Or if
they talk to you after that, it's like, okay, well, all right, we can go on.
Hey,
all right, you're okay.
Believe it or not, you brought up Salo. I'm like, you know what? I haven't watched that in a while. I have that Criterion disc upstairs. I should go watch that later. I'll watch that before bed.
Watch that as you're going to bed. You'll be fine.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I don't need something happy before I go to bed. I'll watch whatever. I'm willing to watch anything.
Uh-oh. Did we lose Matt? No, we may have lost Matt. Matt got cut off. We're talking about Salo and the Serbian film, and I think I think the government stepped in or something here. All right. Well, hopefully we can get Matt back here. Matt, all right, you're here. I can't see you. Oh, wait, I hear you. There you are.
I don't know. My AirPod fell out, and then apparently it was like, no, fuck you. You can't do anything.
Okay. Oh, wait.
So.
Holy shit. Am I having a bad acid trip here, or what are we doing?
Yeah, you are. I don't know what it's doing.
Anybody else seeing this?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. There we go.
Cameras. Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, Chase, we got shadow banned all of a sudden. We're talking about Serbian film.
Talking about a Serbian film, I didn't mean to get your channel deleted by talking about I almost bought the baby from a Serbian film.
No.
Yes, it came up for auction, and I was this close to tapping my 401k, and I should have bought it. It is one of my absolute regrets.
What would something like that go for? Who the fuck would be buying that for one?
I think it went for other than 6,000 or 7,000. I think it went for 6,000 or 7,000.
Wow.
It was one of those I hesitated a little too long, and I kind of regret it. And it came back up for once.
Yeah, I think so, Steve.
They probably are. They probably are coming for revenge. Like I'm gonna
cut this shit.
I have a reckoning coming for a few folks, probably. I'm not gonna lie, but you know what? It's worth it. No, I did. I almost bought it. I kind of regret it. Just because of it being such an outlandish piece.
Yeah, how would you explain that to someone? It's like, oh, check this out. You know what this is from? Well, let me explain this. It's like,
so I have a shirt. I have a shirt that I wear from time to time at conventions. It says, "I liked a Serbian film, so fuck you and your baby." And the people that know look at the shirt and they go, "Oh," and I go, yeah, we're cool. Yeah,
whoa.
Yeah.
You can only wear that to a convention, though. You can't really wear that out to Walmart or anything.
I picked up my son once from school wearing a Cannibal Holocaust shirt, and I didn't realize it.
Okay, I thought you were gonna wear the shirt. Just fuck your baby. All right.
Yeah, I didn't. But I mean, I wore the poster for Cannibal Holocaust on a shirt to pick my son up, and I didn't realize it until I was in the pickup line, and I was like, I'm gonna pull my hoodie over a little bit because didn't think about it, and I was just like, oh yeah,
Well,
this is not.
my niece had her 1 year old birthday party today, and I didn't realize I was wearing this Martin shirt with the razor blade and the blood hanging down. I was just like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have wore this because the family on the other side of my brother-in-law's family might look at that in a certain way. And I was like, well, maybe I shouldn't have wore this shirt today. I don't know. So yeah, you got to be mindful of this stuff sometimes.
It's more acceptable now, but but the people that know and they get it, you can tell by the look in their eye when they're reading the shirt, and you just kind of be like, you don't even need to explain it. It just makes it even funnier because I'm like, oh, I didn't expect this out of you. You get this reference? Okay, let's talk.
Yeah, that's a good way to put up a flag and be like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's that's the best part about having the shirts that are deep cuts. is someone that had enough call Dr. Gregorian. Yes. I can see Kyra loving that. One. Yes.
Kyra seems really cool. I've met her a couple of times, and she seems like
I love her.
Yeah, she seems like she would get that. Which I mean, if you grew up as the little girl from Night of the Living Dead, I mean, I guess you don't really have much of a choice but to, grow up with a weird sense of humor, if nothing else.
No, I remember she used to live in this really great Victorian house in Pittsburgh, and I went over a few times. It looked like a house from like the Addams Family, just that old, the wood, the decor. Oh my God. And it suited her so well, and it was just one of okay, I can see that this is where you live, and I absolutely love it. Like I used to love going over to her house, and
it's just, like Tom's house. Like you've been to Tom's house, haven't you?
Yeah,
Tom's house seems like it's like this would be Tom Savini's house.
Tom's house is a playground. Tom's house is an absolute playground. Like, the famous garage with all the masks and all that stuff is there. And then, you walk into the backyard and he's got, the robot from Day the Earth Stood Still. He's got all the other stuff. And then you walk into his house and it's like this, just with just shit that Tom loves. And, he's got the thrones in his living room, which are awesome. But then his house is deceptively it seems deceptively long. Like when we were walking through his house, it was like, his house seems a lot bigger on the inside. It was like a TARDIS. And it, going upstairs and all the way up, and he's got one of Jerry Only's jackets, and he's got all these busts, and we're down in the basement, and he's like, oh, this is the mace from, Knight Riders. Yeah. Down is Up 76. Yeah, I remember Christopher Nelson showing me that video at Steel City Con. He was like, yeah, we just went to Tom Savini's house, and oh yeah, no, Tom literally walks out of his garage with a fucking flamethrower and almost got Chris Nelson caught on fire because he was Tom's a big kid. That's what I love about Tom. Tom is a legit big kid. And you give Tom a toy, Tom's going to play with it. And yeah, watching Tom with that flamethrower is fucking hilarious. But yeah, I mean, when we were at Tom's house, Tom's just look, I got this and I got this, and he's showing us all his paintings and shit.
It's amazing all the stuff that Tom still has. After you hear of all the stuff that Tom has gotten rid of over the years, like when you hear Dave Burian talk about, oh yeah, I got this from Tom, and you're thinking like, oh, Tom just got rid of all of his stuff, and then you're like, no, he just was just making room for more stuff.
That's yeah. Tom's a big trader. He'll trade with people that he knows for Tom loves the old Universal Monster stuff. So there's so much Universal Monster stuff in there, especially Lon Chaney. And there's just so many busts and paintings and, anything along those lines, and watching Tom with videos of his grandkids and stuff, just playing with them and just how big of a kid Tom is. I just absolutely love it. And, I remember Tom had I'm trying to find it if I have it over here. He had like a whole thing of like Bloody Mary mix and stuff with his name and face on it. And I'm trying to think where the hell. And like he had like a case of it sitting on his like coffee table, and he's like, "Here, do you guys want this?" And we were like, "Sure." So it's like I have like Bloody Mary mix and like marinara sauce or something. I'm trying to think,
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it's got like him with like fangs, on it from like it was almost like from like a Dusk Till Dawn kind of thing. And I'm trying to think of where the hell did I put them, but now I'm like, where the hell are they? I wonder if they're on the other side of my room over there. But yeah, like Tom's like real quiet about it, but like Tom's just
well, you
kind of like
mentioned
Greg.
you were talking earlier about Greg Nicotero and being kind of just a big fan. It's like anytime I've ever seen Tom at a convention, it never fails. He will get up from his table and just walk around the convention. I saw him like buying just like a stack of Blu-rays from the Troma table at one point. Like he just had like he's a collector. He's as big of a fan of this stuff as anybody.
And when you get him and Greg together, I remember at a convention, my God, many years ago. This might have been 2008, 2009. Him and Greg started doing like a rubber band fight with each other across the convention room. Like they're just sitting there like throwing, like, spinning rubber bands at each other like the whole day. I think I have a picture of it somewhere, but yeah, they legit just all day were just flinging rubber bands back and forth. They're two teenage boys. When they are together,
they're living the dream. They're living the dream.
Yeah. I mean,
I would love to just be. I would love Tom Savini's house. Like I could just have a house. Like just all of that.
Yeah, I remember a friend of mine took me over there in like 1999, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm standing outside of Tom Savini's house," and like took a picture of his gate with the gargoyle on it and everything. I thought that was like the coolest thing in the world. And who would have known? Like 20 years later, I'm like inside that house, seeing all that shit. It's amazing. That man just has so much stuff, and he's such an icon and a legend, and he's such a great storyteller too.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He's always got some anecdote about something, and it just never gets old.
He's seen it all. I mean, he's been there from like day one. I mean, he was the, especially when you talk about like 80 slasher films, like that those would not exist without Tom Savini, and he worked on most of them. So Tom. Like I said, that's. I would love to live the Tom Savini life and just have my entire house, just my Romero collection. I need a house for my collection at this point.
We all need a house for our collection. Like that's that's the problem. Is we need a house to live in, and then we need a house to go to just to be around our stuff. Whether it's the third floor or the basement or whatever. We need that type of living situation because it's never going to stop. We just kind of we're just a little more judicious about it. After you get to a certain point, you're like, do I need this? Yes, I want to hang it up, but if I don't buy it now, it's going to cost me more later. And that's how I look, when I buy like Blu-rays and stuff, I'm like, well, if I don't buy this now, I'm going to spend up double for it later, if not more. So I'm going to buy it now. And then I'll be done with it because I know I'm saving money. I'm spending it now, but I'm saving money. It's like
it's a good way. Yeah, it's a good way to justify it in your head and justify it to your significant other. I'm just like, why did you buy more of this shit? It's like, well, it'll be worth more. It's like I tell my fiance all the time. It's like, well, if my daughter, when she grows up, she wants to go to college, or if she develops a drug problem, we got a backup plan. Like. She's like,
my kids have a drug problem. I ain't getting rid of my shit for their drug problem. So it's good thing none of this shit down here is worth much to anybody that's not watching the show or that we hang out with at least once or twice a year. So I think we're safe for the most part. It's
for the most part. But I worry about that too. Like I wonder about that too. It's just like if I were to just get hit by a bus tomorrow, it's like what would happen to most? Like I need to write out a will to just be like to explain what this stuff is worth, what to do with it. Like because like my fiance wouldn't have no idea what to do with any of this stuff.
I have that plan in place with a few friends. We have a mutual agreement that if something were to happen, we jump in and help out. So we've got that in place so that it's like, okay, this probably isn't worth anything, but this is. This is, this could be iffy. You can decide on this, but like this is value. This is sentimental, and and whatnot. So it's always nice to kind of have that in place with one or two people that can just, you know, kind of slide in with the fiance and say, okay, this is what we want to look at. You know? But it's always, you know, trying to do an inventory of stuff, you know, kind of helps. But it's, you know, when you look at, you know,
because I see that all the time on like eBay or something. Somebody, because I bought my my original Dawn one sheet with the green letter one sheet. I bought that off eBay from a woman who, I guess her husband had just passed away and he had it and she didn't know what it was worth. So I got a really good deal on it. And I was like, you know, this usually goes for this, but you know, and she was like, oh, well, I'll sell it to you for this. And I'm like, okay, well, just to let you know, if he has anything else, like, let me know. I'll let you know what it's worth. Cause she had it for a really low price.
Yeah.
And I caught her, like, cause I'm always, before I had gotten one, I looked every day for one, like, just like, okay, I'm going to keep an eye out every day. So yeah, some people just, you know, you see that with like vinyl and stuff a lot too. Like people just sell like batches of vinyl for, you know, little to nothing. And I'm just like, dude, come on. Like,
yeah, I have the Peter Stormare's Gift from George from Bruiser. I looked at that for every day for years on eBay, and I finally grabbed that because I saw it once, lost it, and I spent years just kind of like, if this ever comes back up, I want this, and I don't care what the price is, and I got it, and it's just one of those things, like it's not worth anything to anybody that doesn't love George, you know, or the biggest Peter Stormare fan out there, but you know, stuff like that, you know, you track down, and I kind of have a blank check when it comes to George, within reason, you know.
Dude, I remember,
I know my limits.
You'll appreciate this story. So when that Martin black and white 16 millimeter print was found, and they were, you know, figuring out, oh, do we sell it? What do we do with it? It was like right around that time when it was first found. And I saw that Mike Gornick and Amplis and a bunch of others were going to be at the Horror Hound in Cincinnati. And so I made the trip to Cincinnati to talk to Gornick about it and see, well, you know, is it legit? What happened, you know? I talked to Gornick, and I was like, I walked up to him like, dude, so what's the story with this black and white Martin cut? Is it legit? Is it the real thing? He was like, oh yeah, that's it. I took a look at it, and it's the one. And of course, it's the version that George always talked about and always regretted not, you know, having it and not seeing it again. And it's like one of my white whale holy grail things to see. And you're just, you know, and the fact that it was still out there just blew me away. So I'm talking to Gornick about it, and he was like, well, actually, the woman that has it might show up here with it. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, she's located in, I think, Berea, Kentucky, which was like an hour or so away from Cincinnati. I was like, really? He's like, yeah. And she messaged me. She said, I might come by and we'll, you know, with the film and show it to you. And I'm like, well, what do you think something like that would be worth? And Mike Gornick was like, oh, you know, maybe $10,000 or so. I would say about 10 grand. I would pay for it. Immediately, I was like, all right, well, if she comes, I'm gonna keep stopping by your table, and if she comes, you let me know, because I want to talk to her. And I left, and I immediately got on the phone with my fiance, and we had a little extra money at the time. And I was like, look, I will sell everything in my fucking collection if I can buy this. If I can make her an offer for $10,000 for this fucking print, just so I could have it, so I knew that it wouldn't disappear again. And I could turn it over and let whoever needed it, whatever needed to happen with it. I just wanted to make sure, you know, it was I felt like it was my duty as a diehard Martin fan, as a diehard Romero fan. And I was just talking, I was explaining, I was like, look, I'll sell everything in my collection. I don't care. I have to, you know, get a hold of this. She never showed up, you know, and never came to pass. But like, I was in the middle of like hard negotiations with my fiance, just like, this has to be, you know, I have to buy this. If she shows up, I have to at least make an offer, at least try. But luckily it did end up in the right hands. And luckily we do have it. And it went for a lot more than $10,000. So, you know,
yeah. It's still amazing that stuff comes up from time to time. Like, it just,
Yeah, and I hate the fact that George wasn't here to see it. You know, he always, like, every commentary, anything you ever talked about Martin, is like, God, I wish I knew what happened to that black and white cut. Like, that was just, I love that cut. Like, that was my cut, you know. And
they were just so lackadaisical with that stuff back in the day. It just never, they just never
amazing,
thought
about
the future implications of this stuff, because it just, you know, that kind of stuff wasn't around. You know, it was barely, you know, home video, you know, what wasn't even really a thing when that was happening. It was so rare. You know, so they just kind of threw it to the wayside. And it's just amazing that someone had the foresight to just keep that and not just go, well, I don't know what's on this reel, I'm just going to throw it away. And it's like, thank God that they didn't.
Yeah.
You know, at least we know that it's safe. And, you know, I see someone asking, what are the chances of the release? I don't know. You'd have to talk to Rubenstein or, you know, whatever happens after the fact. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure the legalities of the ownership, you know, chain of ownership or whatever on that is probably a little convoluted, and that's well above a lot of folks' pay grade to figure out. I'd love to see it released. I'm sure it will eventually get a release. Yeah, it's just my hopes. You know, I have a feeling that could definitely be something worthwhile, but it's, you know, physical copy. Yeah,
it's Rubenstein
owns Martin. You know, the physical print is in one hands. The rights to do anything with it are in another. And you got to get both parties to, you know, come to some understanding or agreement to get that released. And it was weird because it kind of happened right around the time the Second Sight Martin print was going on. I think it was that was kind of like in flux. Like they kind of announced Second Sight, and then this shows up.
Yeah, and I think that's what kind of halted the Second Sight release for so long, is they were trying to get that, and it just wasn't going to happen. You know.
Yeah, because everyone was kind of like waiting for it, and I think Second Sight was trying to figure out, like, well, can we get this?
Yeah,
and it's if they work out Spider-Man, they can work out Martin. Well, someone's got to have Disney money to work out this Martin thing, because I guarantee you it's not going to be cheap. You know, it's got to be restored. You're going to have to get the rights and, you know, whatever box set they come out with, or, you know, I don't care. Just put it on a standard release. Like, it can be a good accompanying.
Fucking you know, exhibit it on the side of a building somewhere for free. You know, like, I'll be there, and like, because the archive has it.
Yeah.
And I know who bought the actual print. Like, it's out there. I mean, you know, we talked about him earlier. I mean, it's like, my thing is, like, I've gone back and forth with Vulo about this. It's like, does what can Rubenstein do? And I know they're trying to, you know, handle it with kid gloves on some level, especially when it comes to Rubenstein and the legalities of it and everything. But what's stopping, you know, from just showing, like, for educational purposes or something, just to be like, we're not charging anything, we're not doing it, we're just gonna show it, you know, and for a handful of people. I don't know, man. Maybe they're just waiting out Rubenstein. And it's morbid, and I hate to say that, but maybe that's what they're doing. I don't know.
Yeah, I wish I knew more. I wish that there was, you know, there hasn't been movement on it in a while. But again, you're right. It could just be a waiting game. It could just be like, we've got it. It's here. We'll just wait till the time is right to cross that bridge, and when we do, it might be easier. I don't know.
Gut boy.
Yes. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, again, thank God for Gut Boy. He's the king of the fanboys.
Yep.
Not only is he the Gut Boy, but he's the king of the fanboy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good. It's good to have somebody like that on our side. We'll just say that.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, man, we're almost at the 3-hour mark. I don't want to keep you here all night. Last weekend, I Norman was on here for 4.5 hours, and it was just like, I could just sit here and listen to this dude talk forever. But yeah, I was gonna say, you got something in particular that I want to hear about. So tell me the story. Let me full frame this. Tell me what this is. Tell me the story of how you got it.
So this is Mike Gornick's original Dawn of the Dead crew shirt, from production. I bought this at the 2021 Living Dead weekend. I had been talking to Mike right before the show started, and I looked down and I saw that. I was like, is that your crew shirt? And he goes, yeah. I was like, oh my God, you're selling it? He goes, yeah. And I was like, can I buy it now? And he goes, okay. So I snagged this. He had it in his closet for 45 years, whatever. And he was like, yeah, I just figured, now, I was like, I just kind of just discovered it. I figured I'd sell it. So I bought it. I was like, I've always wanted an original crew shirt. And the fact that I know this is from Mike, makes it a little bit extra special. And he had a print. This is the only time that he actually wore the shirt was for this picture.
I was going to say, it looks like it's in great condition. It looks like it's never even been washed.
I wore it once that weekend. I took a picture wearing it. It's been in this shadow box ever since. But it's been in his closet for 45 years at this point, and he just brought it out and figured, he figured someone would like it. And I saw it and I said, well, there was my big purchase for the weekend. And but yeah, I've always wanted an original crew shirt, and just the fact that it's Mike's, I love, because I love Mike.
That is my white whale collectible, is an original crew shirt. And the fact that you got Gornick's, which Gornick is probably top 3, top 5 most important figures that worked on Dawn of the Dead. I mean, that's incredible, man. That's
I mean,
really, really cool.
If you remind me, I'll bring it to Living Dead weekend. I'll let you wear it for a picture.
I told you to make for a really sexy belly shirt on me, man.
Hey, you know what? We can be sexy belly shirt brothers. I'll put it on too, and we'll photo ourselves together, and
I'm sure Gornick would appreciate that. He's like, man, that shirt never looked better.
Just walk up with it. Be like, yeah, Matt, let me wear your old shirt. Look, how's it going?
Like, yeah.
Yeah, I did. I wore it that weekend. I was like, oh, this feels so weird, but I was like, this is so cool. Like, just to find stuff like that. And like you said, Gornick, dude's an encyclopedia. Same with Tom Davinsky. Love those guys to death. Would again run through a brick wall for them. And I love that I can look at it, and Mike's a great friend and everything. And I'm just like, yeah, it's just a nice piece. It's a shirt. Again, nothing else, but it's a crew shirt that was worn once by the director of photography and then thrown in a closet for 45 years. But it's just a nice piece of history, for someone that was there and that helped put this all together for George, and that we can enjoy. I'm glad I got it. It is one of my favorite pieces.
Here you go. Matt says, tell you what, I'll take the lights. Mike gets the shirt, and I promise we won't plot your demise to get him. Deal. Let's do that. Deal.
I don't know, Matt. If you know Carl Hendricks, he's after these lights more than anything. So you're gonna have to I want a Thunderdome type showdown between you and Carl.
All right. Knife fights. Lights. We can do that.
But you know what? Knowing that Mike wants a shirt, I would put Mike in line first for the shirt. So we'll
yes. Well, I'm not making any promises that I won't plot your demise for that. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that I'll do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
But if something happens, it may not be my fault. I'll just say that.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to start putting stuff behind laser beams and museum level. I'm gonna put this you lift it off the wall, and you can fight Carl all you want. I just want to be able to watch. Like if I'm on my deathbed, I want that televised in my fucking hospice room. You guys can go at it. That way I know it's going somewhere.
You're like fucking broken beer bottles, and it's like, all right, come on.
Yeah. Mike's the fucking referee wearing the Dawn shirt. Fight.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
at that point, it's just going to be a halter top. I think at that point, it's just going to be barely hanging on.
We're going WWE style. This is a fucking ladder match for these lights. I want this shit on. You're gonna have to climb
Lights
a ladder.
Lights on a pole, man.
Lights on a pole match. That's right. You just want the action figures. Yeah, those figures are from well over the years. Oh, I guess I should turn this. The ones next to the signs, I got those from Japan. Those are from like 1997, 98. I got them from my local comic shop. And then the other ones are the NECA ones that came out, and then the Land of the Dead ones that came out right after the movie, and then the other stuff from the last couple of years. But all the zombie ones are all signed by, Lenny, Paul, Dave, Tom, and everything. So yeah, I've had those. Like I said, I bought those like first run from my comic shop out of the catalog back in the day. So that was one of the first collectibles that I was able to buy, like first run.
Oh, dude, I remember seeing those like cult cinema, like when I was young, when I first discovered your website and everything back in the day. I'd be sitting in the library at school on eBay, and I'd find those figures from the cult cinema figures, and I'd be like, oh my God, Dawn of the Dead has action figures. I had no idea, or I'd find the SPI board game, be like, oh my God, Dawn of the Dead has a board game. I have to have that.
I still got a sealed copy.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That was my first big. So I'll tell you this, and then I'll let you get here. I wanted to talk about Bruiser. So I know Matt was here especially for you to talk about Bruiser tonight, but hey, Norman has popped in here. Norman, what's going on, brother? What are you? What are you guys?
And I answered his question, and I said never. I said never.
I just
never gonna grow up.
Yeah, come on,
I
Norman.
still don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah, I'm 37 now, and I'm still just hanging out in a room full of toys and posters and stuff. I'm like,
You're 37?
I'm 37 in a row.
In a row?
In a row. And I'm still just I'm still just like I was when I was a teenager, just hanging out.
Dude,
around,
I still
just
walk down the toy
stuff,
aisle
man.
at Walmart every time I go. Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah, you gotta.
I still walk down the toy aisle.
But I'll tell you this, man. I'll tell you this, and I'll let you get out of here. But that SPI board game, that was my first big collectible purchase, I would say, on eBay just a handful of years ago. Before that, I had bought some Dawn of the Dead stuff. I'd bought all the Blu-rays and stuff as they would come out, but the board game was the one thing that stuck with me from the time that I was younger and I first saw it on eBay, and I just always wanted it and always had to have it. But I did save this comment from earlier that Matt posted. Matt says, Zombie Farm got me through my teen years. WGON got me through through COVID. I will say, and going off of how we started this stream, WGON radio brought me back in. So Dawn of the Dead and everything, I was a huge Romero fan and all that. Through my 20s came, and I was playing in bands, playing music, and that was kind of my focus. I always had Dawn of the Dead. I love Dawn of the Dead and everything in the background, but that was not And then one night randomly, I was delivering pizzas at the time, and I was looking for something to listen to, and I was just I was kind of burned. I was listening to a lot of wrestling podcasts, and I was listening to just this and that. And I was like, well, I wonder if anybody's talking about George Romero. And, I type in George Romero on iTunes or whatever. I see WGON Radio with Eric Kent and Matt Blazi. And I'm like, Matt Blazi, I remember that dude. He was the one that used to talk to me about fucking Romero back in the day. I'll check this out. And it was your interview with Donald Rubenstein. It was the first episode. And from that moment on, I listened to you guys, that fucking podcast. I was sucked back in. I was just like, oh my God, these guys are speaking my language. It's like we were talking about earlier. These guys are talking to me. I know what these guys are talking about. And so from that moment on, I became a huge fan of you guys' podcast. Like I said, it sucked me back in. And then COVID came, and you guys were doing all kinds of stuff through that time period, which led to you guys getting on with the Garf and doing all the amazing stuff that you guys have been doing with the Garf lately, which the children of the Living Dead stream with Tor Ramsey. I am now, because of that, I am now the biggest fucking Tor Ramsey fan in the world. I don't care. I love Tor. So rounding full circle, this is a full circle moment for me, because this channel, what I do here on YouTube and what I've been doing here for the last 3 years or so that I've been doing this channel, would not exist if it hadn't been for that just random occurrence of me typing, who's talking about George Romero, and finding you guys' podcast. You and Eric totally sent me down that fucking pathway again. And I've listened to those episodes multiple times. The Rubenstein interview, the Booba interview, the Paul Macaluso interview. Like, I love what you guys have done, what you guys have done with the Garf. So to have you on my channel, just sit here for the last 3 hours and bullshit with me about Romero and all this stuff, it's been just a huge thrill for me, and I can't thank you enough for doing it, man.
No, I mean, it was a huge honor for me. I mean, I love the fact that you're doing something like this, and it's just so far reaching, and I've been so excited for all the stuff that you do. I don't always get a chance to pop in live, but I'll watch at times and you know, catch the episodes when they pop up, and I just love it. I just love that there's other people out there getting a chance to do this. And you know, we're doing what we can for George and for our friends and for the folks that, you know, worked with George. And you know, there's never enough time. You know, we could do another 3 hours on Bruiser. So you ever want to do a Bruiser episode?
I'm down.
I'm coming back. You know, yeah, we didn't even touch on it, and I'm contractually obligated to talk about Bruiser every time I'm on.
Oh yeah, you got the shirt, you got the posters, and there's a Bruiser 4K coming out soon from Kino that I wanted to ask you about. I mean,
there's George's Bruiser's chair, his director's chair.
All right, I got to full screen that just for Matt. Show that again, just for you, Matt. It's amazing.
So yeah, there's going to be some good extras on that Bruiser 4K. I can't say what yet, but
that's what I wanted to ask you about, sir. That's what I wanted to ask you about. Because I'm going to have Felsher on next week, and I wanted to ask him if he did anything for the Bruiser 4K. And I was going to ask you, because I remember, so there was a couple of years ago at Horror Hound when Felsher was there, and you were there, and I was just happened to overhear Felsher asking you about some different Bruiser stuff that you might be interested in helping out with. And I was like, oh, okay, interesting. So I was wondering if Kino had kind of gotten a hold of that or what, but.
Yeah, I have a call on Thursday about it. I have an email out. Yeah, I think you guys are going to be excited.
Good, because I was worried about that when I saw Kino doing it. I know Kino doesn't really do a whole lot of bonus features, outside of maybe some other stuff that's already been done. But I'm all right. I'm happy that you've said that now. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm going to bring that up with Felsher next week for sure.
Oh yeah, no, knowing Felsher's on. How did I get that? So in 2017, after George had passed, just kind of, I have Bruiser. You know, I check Bruiser on eBay once, twice a week because you never know. And this ended up on eBay. So, and of course, it's from Canada, and the girl was like, you know. The listing was, you know, local pickup or Canadian post. So I messaged her. I said, listen, here's my story regarding Bruiser. I would love to absolutely buy this. Like, I need this. I will come to Canada to pick this up. So her and I went back and forth, and she pulled the listing down. And I was like, I will be up next weekend to get this. Her uncle, his house was the house that they used the hot tub scene for in Bruiser. And so I said, okay, where do you want to meet? What do you want to do? What's the price? We said, all right. I literally drove to Canada, crossed the border, met them at a used furniture, like a furniture store that his friend owned. Because I was like, look, I can either, you know, bring you Canadian cash or we can do card. He's like, well, there's a card reader here, whatever. So I said, all right. So I went and met him. Got the chair. He took me in over to the house from the movie. And that was when I finally got a chance to figure out where Henry Crelo's house was, which was only like another mile away. So I finally got to see Henry Crelo's house. So I literally drove to Canada to buy this chair and then came back the next day. I needed it. It was, George left that for him, for using the house and everything. And so I took this chair and I took it to Henry Creedlow's house, and I put the chair in front of the house and took a picture of both just because I'm a fucking nerd. But there's not much Bruiser stuff out there. And I love Bruiser, and here's my Peter Stormare
there you go, Matt.
gift that I cherish. This is probably one of my top 5.
That's pretty
things.
fucking cool.
Yeah, no,
Which I know Matt's a huge Peter Stormare fan. His performance in Bruiser, Matt just can't get enough of it. I love giving Landrum shit about that.
I know. I saw him and he was like, I still haven't warmed up, and I was like, oh, we'll fix that. I fucking love Stormare. Like,
I've been working on him, man. I've been working on
Atkins about Stormare, and Atkins was like, yeah, he's out there. Like, he's, you didn't know what to expect. But I'm gonna love, like, Stormare is probably like one of my top 2 or 3 people to ever meet. And if I do, like, it's gonna be nothing but Bruiser. I don't give a shit about Fargo or anything else that he did. I'm like, I want to talk about Bruiser.
You gotta talk about fucking Milo Styles, man. Come on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and Matt, you better pick up this Kino Lorber set. Like I said, I think you're going to.
He will.
I think you're going to love what's planned for it. It's in the works. My phone blew up last week when that announcement came out. I think my phone went off for an entire day, and I loved it because, again, I love Bruiser, and I love that people know that I love Bruiser, so they have to share it, and I absolutely loved it. And then I got the text that I had been waiting for to kind of kickstart some stuff. So I think you guys are going to enjoy some of the stuff that I think is going to end up being on there.
I can't wait. Now. You've made my night, because I was so like, when I saw that Bruiser was getting another release, and I was like, it was Kino, and I was like, Kino does good stuff, but man, they don't really do a lot with the bonus features, and we just got the Indicator stuff, and they had some good stuff on the Indicator, but I was like, I need a new commentary track, or I need some Michael Felsher on this thing, I need
commentary
some
track, huh?
Yeah, yeah, I need that. Can I?
Okay.
Just put in a good word for the commentary track.
I'll put in a good word. I know some folks.
Well, I've always said too. Of course, you're an author. You've done 8 Days in the Woods, making the Blair Witch Project, which is another thing I wanted to talk to you about, which we didn't get to tonight. Which I'm gonna have you back, and we're gonna talk about Blair Witch. We're gonna talk about Bruiser, because I'm a huge Blair Witch fan too. That's another movie that just fucking captured my imagination the first time I saw it. But if anybody was to ever do a making of Bruiser book, it's got to be you, Matt. So I wait for that.
I thought about it.
I think that would make for a great book, because I mean, if you covered in the
I would
in the atmosphere of George's career at that time and where George was at that time, I think it'd be a fucking fascinating read. I'm so obsessed with George at that time, like, and where he was at that time. Like, I'd eat that up. So.
Yeah, no, I think after I get done with the second book, maybe I'll try to do a George type book with that type of era going on, because I think, when I tell people, I'm like, you really need to watch like Monkey Shines, Dark Half, Bruiser, like those 3 films are definitely an interesting period for George. And I think they've got, their own legs to stand on. And I think they need to have a bit of a rediscovery. That's why I kind of push Bruiser so hard, because it's so different than a lot of what George had done. And but yeah, we can do a whole Bruiser show. I can talk ad nauseum about Bruiser and my love for it and everything. So we'll let's pencil that in. I totally will come back for that.
All right, deal. I'm gonna hold you to that, because I can talk about Bruiser. I love Bruiser. I joke about it all the time. It's like I'm one of the 1% of like hardcore love Bruiser fans. So
that's right.
I want to talk about Bruiser, but God damn it, I'm gonna let you get out of here.
Yeah, it's 1 a.m. But we'll refresh. We'll start with Bruiser next time.
There we go.
and we'll do some deep dives into some of that stuff, and then
Matt will come on and argue with us.
I mean, you can come on and lose. That's okay.
Yeah,
that's all right. You can.
We're gonna work on you.
Wrong, if you want to be wrong, my friend, that is okay. I still love you. I'm not gonna love you any less, even though you're wrong. But we'll talk. When I come down to Georgia again in September, we'll sit down and we'll talk. If you're not convinced by then I'll just have to do something. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that at some point.
Yeah, Matt, I'd say your chances of getting your hands on that light.
The lights kind of went down a little bit. I'm going to call
coming
Carl
down a little bit.
I'm going to put Carl's name on these lights over here now.
Carl likes Bruiser, I think. So
I think he does. I think I'll. You know what? I'll call Carl tomorrow and tell him. You can come pick these up at some point.
He's ready to get rid of them now, just in spite of you, Matt. just for your bullshit. Bonnie, what's going on, Bonnie? Bonnie says interesting and fun collection. Thank you for sharing. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, Matt's got a lot of great stuff, great stories, and like I said, it's been an absolute pleasure and honor having him on tonight. So let's all thank Matt. Matt, like, what you got anything coming up with the Garf coming up anytime soon on the Garf Network? I know you guys just recently did that Joetta McClain interview that was really, really fun.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was fun hearing her memories of Ray Lane. That was a big revelation for me. I was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I think me and Eric have some stuff that are kind of like on deck. We just have to, get them done. So, yeah, we'll get on that and get some more stuff out to you guys, because I know we love doing it, and I know like with the Children of the Living Dead thing, that was just kind of an unexpected response. Like, we didn't think that we were going to get the response we did. We knew it was going to be interesting, but the fact that so many people are still talking about that.
I think you inspired Felsher. I think Felsher's I think that's gonna be the Red Shirt Pictures. Yeah. That's coming soon from Red Shirt Pictures. I think the 4K restoration of Children of the Living Dead.
Oh yeah. No, I'm pushing Felsher forward. I said, look, dude, we'll get together and do it. I was like, I'll go do the location stuff. We'll get Tor to do a commentary. Like, we'll do whatever. Like, I don't care. Let's make this happen. And if they do it, like, that'll be such the most random release ever. Is it Children of the Living Dead? Like, oh my God, yeah.
I've heard from so many people lately. Like my buddies, they do it on their channel here, the Revival House podcast. They're always talking about Children of the Living Dead. Like was like, that's what I associate with them now. I'm just like, it's coming back around, man. Especially with like Vinegar Syndrome and some of these labels. It's like it's gotta come back at some point. And we need a full commentary with Tor. Like, just give me a commentary with Tor, and Tor can talk about what a horrible
of them.
Yeah, just tell me about what a horrible bitch Karen Wolf was the entire time, and I'm fine. Like,
we'll do like 3 or 4, and it's just him like just continuing the rant from the first one.
Yeah, just
on the second one,
just on a repeat.
Yeah.
Okay, so Matt's convinced. So he say, "Fine, I love Bruiser, best film ever." So okay, Matt, you're back in.
All right, you're back in the running for the lights. All right, good.
Matt Waldner says, I made the difficult decision to step away from social media many years ago. Most difficult because it was my main conduit to marvelous people like Matt, Chris, and the community in general. This has been a wonderful return to the well. Thanks everyone, both on and off screen. Well, thanks for being in here, man. I'm glad you appreciate it. Glad you've been in here, brother. But yeah, so I'll let you get out of here, man. Thanks again for doing this. This has been a lot of fun. And I'll talk to you soon. And everybody in the chat, it was great seeing you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed that. And I'll be back next week with Michael Felsher. We're going to talk more Bruiser next week, by God. Now that I know.
I'll be back next week to watch. Yep.
So Felsher will be here next week, and so will I. But until then, everybody make sure hit that like button, subscribe if you're new watching this for the first time, and I'll see you guys next week. But until then, stay safe, stay prepared, but always stay scared.